I can't believe the night lay waste to all we'd given. But honestly, you've gotta know that this ain't living. But we could run from Elysium and let it burn, let it burn. You've gotta know that nothing lasts forever. I can't believe myself. I never thought that this would be our end, but it's nothing new. And my lover's honesty, I can push it back down if I have to. If you want me to, 'cause we can run. The stars that fall all for you. So tell me now, what's left to lose if we run?
Hello everybody and welcome back to the main action, and for one last time we've got one more session at the China Open, as we're now going to be looking to see and to crown a new China Open champion. And is he going to be the fourth crown for the four-time world champion of Mark Selby, or is it going to be the first ranking event and the first China crown for Nippon Saengkham? And well, straight away I think that's probably going to be the best way to start. I have had a look, many clips on social media from that blue in a very important moment in 7th frame. Loads of people saying it has moved. I'll be honest with you, you can put it to my face, I cannot see it move, to be honest with you. So I have to say, I have to stick with what I've seen beforehand. I can't really just, if I'm not going to be taking the influence of other people, I can't see it move. A lot of people saying it did move, which means, you know, my counterpoint to that is going to be straight away is that why Selby, Nippon had a look at it alongside the referee and then agreed that it was a foul and a miss. So for me, I think Selby's done pretty well to show some good sportsmanship to allow Nippon and himself to have a look at it again. But for me, listen, if I just take my eyes, which are not great, into it, I will have to say for me it didn't move. But you know, if 10 people are going to say it has moved, and I'm the only one saying it hasn't, then I very much accept that I was in the wrong. Welcome back. Well, welcome back, everybody. You know, listen, it's one of those things. It happens in snooker. It was a fine margin. Nobody, by the way, asked him to miss it the second time there. You know, probably something that I'm trying to cover myself with. But ultimately, when it comes down to Nippon, he played some brilliant frames. Selby managed to respond really well in the deciding frame, because despite Nippon having a couple of good chances to come back late on in the frame, he wasn't able to do that. But I think the positives for Nippon have to be down to when he played well, he was able to score big and he didn't really leave chances away to Selby. So for me, that was probably down to, you know, him probably deserving to have that 5-3 of a lead, I think, overall, not just down to that particular blue. But I think the 4 frames that he's won, he's absolutely dominated, and the 4 frames that Selby's won, he's had a couple of really good ones, but then he's had a couple of really shaky ones as well, like the frame number 8 and like the frame number 2, for example, when, you know, Saengkham was coming back at him with plenty of chances and plenty of response, but just unable to make that work for him at the end, and, you know, unable to respond at a very key moment in time. So I think right now it will probably come down to a better opportunity for Mark Selby to try and get himself in the lead for this match. Whether it'll happen or not, we have to wait and see. Nippon so far has only been behind on one of those occasions when he was 2-1 down. Despite winning the first frame, he then got on to lose the next 2. But hopefully now there will be a better opportunity for Nippon Saengkham to play a little bit better, a little bit more clinical, I would say. Probably the only thing, his positional play hasn't been perfect. I think his spot success and his long shots have been really, really good. I think the long shots of Selby have let him down on a couple of occasions, and I also think that the safety of Saengkham has been pretty much a match for what we've seen from Mark Selby as well. So, you know, the pre-match prediction was 10-5 for me for Selby. I'm going to switch it slightly towards 10-6 because I still think there is going to be a potential for that to happen. But ultimately, there will be a very important point here where Mark Selby... Let me just sort something out very quickly, sorry. But yeah, I think for Mark Selby, he needs to just try and avoid any more surprises for him. I think we've seen that for him, where he was able to come back stronger. I think right now, he just needs to get himself in that straight line, make it a little bit of a flat performance, and just realize that whenever there is going to be a chance that is going to come to him through the long shot, through a good safety, or through a mistake from the Saengkham's point of view, he just needs to be there when it happens. And when it does happen, he should find himself to be in that position of hopefully getting a good result at the end as well. Whether it will happen or not, it's difficult to say because, you know, we can't really see the future. But I think There are positives for Napon, that he's still very much in the mix despite losing 2 very important frames at the end of that first session, but he needs to make sure he doesn't do the same thing as Selby has done, where he lost 3 frames in a row. Now Selby has recovered from that loss. Saengkham needs to make sure he doesn't lose yet another frame, because that would put him, of course, on the back foot since the 3rd frame, and I think at that stage you are going to be looking at a bit of a problem there. But once again, just a very quick reminder that Napon Saengkham has beaten Ronnie O'Sullivan 6 frames to 4, has beaten Sean Murphy 6 frames to 4, has beaten Watchalong by 6 frames to 3, and has beaten Joey Long by 6 frames to 5. To play Mark Selby, who, in respect of himself, has beaten Neil Robertson by 6 frames to 1, has beaten Karen Wilson by 6 frames to 1, has beaten Stuart Bingham by 6 frames to 2, and has also in the first round, has beaten the man that so far up to this point has been the only player to take more than 2 frames away from him, has beaten Pang Jung-soo by 6 frames to 3. So then, the schedule obviously is going to consist of the second session. But just very quickly on there, do you think he was a touch on the blue? Let me know in the chat. We can do a poll a little bit later as well for it. But I do just want, do you think the blue was caught? Do you think it moved? Or do you think that it was the right call from the referee? And, well, we're about to see now the players and the referee to make their way back towards the arena. And it will be very interesting to see what's going to happen in between the two of them. And I think when it comes down, we'll win by fighting with his brain and skills. Monday Lukey. Thank you very much, Letitia. I appreciate that. Now then, let's have a look at this then. World ranking of 9 and 45 before the start of the week. 33,000 points scored last season. 12,000 for Napon. 71 matches played. 71% match win rate for Selby. 42 matches played for Napon. 35% of the matches that he's won. 177 breaks of 50 plus for Selby, 67 centuries, only 11 for Napon Saengkham last season. So he's going to be looking to try and improve on that. Of course, he has had an opportunity to try and make a century break. It didn't quite work out for him on that occasion, but he would still say, you know, especially if you look at the ball spot at 132 for Napon Saengkham, 99 for Selby, he has found himself to be leading pretty much in every single one of those stats, especially if you look at the foul points. 31 foul points conceded. And what's the tournament highest break? 140. 140 made by Bingham and by Murphy, I think he was. I know that Bingham was in there, but can't remember who else. Couldn't check very quickly. Shouldn't be a problem, but I am pretty adamant that he was 140 when last time I checked. So Joey Long. Murphy sat on 139. So I put him from the 3rd place to the 1st, but it is joined now of Joey Long and Stuart Bingham. So unless we're going to see a higher break from Napon Saengkham or Mark Selby, there will be 7,500 worth of prize money to be very much for it. Qualifiers don't count for the best break. They should. I don't think they do. Actually, it's an interesting one. I don't think they will. It's an interesting one, actually. Do qualifiers count? I think they do, you know. They should. Yeah, because this tournament didn't really have qualifiers, did it? Letitia. So I'm pretty sure they do. Because this tournament is probably the only one on the calendar which is not really going to have qualifiers, because they just integrated the players with the top 16 seeds. And, oh no, he did the qualifiers beforehand, did he? Yeah, it's an interesting one. Well, probably doesn't then. Yeah, there you go. Because we do remember the whole story about, you know, Bingham against Brissell and stuff. So yeah, probably they don't. But we haven't really seen those high value breaks to be coming in qualifiers anyway, though. So 147 has been made. Not in China Open, no. I'm going to have a look once again whilst introducing the referee. He's not going to be the favourite, but I don't think that was the point. And I think that there's not really been made. Yeah, there you go. You're all right, actually. Because Michael Holt scored the 147 in the China Open qualifying match. So good spot that from you. But no, not for me. I didn't realise that they wouldn't be counting it. But clearly, in the pre-main stage of the draw, they wouldn't count that, which is surprising. But I suppose at the same time, you can't really take that away from the top players, can you? Because they would not have played an extra match for them. If no audience present, then I don't think the prize should go to a score in qualifying. Yes, so I think that's not even down to this. I just don't think, you know, it's you don't have a high value prize in the invitational tournaments, I'm pretty sure, because of that specific reason, as Napan Saengkham now makes his way towards the main table, and we're about to get Mark Selby to be introduced as well. Because I think it's a little bit unfair when, you know, you're going to have, I suppose it is, you know, giving the prize money to lower seeds players, but, you know, the top 16 would argue they never played those qualifiers, so they shouldn't really count towards the main thing. And you should probably only start from the part of the draw where everyone is going to be playing against everyone. So, well, it certainly doesn't count. Whether it should or not is going to be another matter. I don't know if qualifications count or not. No, they don't. We just had a look, because you're right. A 147 was made, and it obviously doesn't count. So there we go. We sorted out. The qualification rounds do not count for the highest break prize, which, controversial or not, that's the reality. Talk about controversial. Has Saengkham managed to recover from what happened in that 7th frame? He needs to try and play his best game right now. He won 5 frames against Gary Wilson on his way to be defeated by 5 frames to 9. He's already managed to win 4 in the first 6. Now, after losing 2 in a row, at the end of the first session, there is now going to be a handshake, and there will be a break-off by Mark Selby. He's already managed to forget about that. It's been so long since the restart of the match. So then, 9th frame about to begin, and it is Mark Selby to get us underway. And now, Napan Saengkham is hopefully going to try and get himself an opening opportunity here in whether it's going to be a long shot. As Selby there once again trying to take an extra cushion into play, but seemingly he has left the red available to the right corner, but at the same time, easier said than done there for Napan, because he's got the black to be covered up by the red at the top side of it. So if he is to try and take this red away, he needs to probably try and play for the blue in towards the left middle as the earliest opportunity for him. So he's certainly going to try and take that red away. As I say, would love to get the start that got him into a 1-0 lead in the first session. But is he going to be able to do that? Not at this occasion. Queued well too straight, and unless he gets a little bit fortunate, what I don't think he got, he's now going to leave this red available to Mark Selby. So we'll see what's going to happen. But as I say, I do expect a whole new level of skill and performance to be made there by Mark Selby. And I do expect Saengkham to be, struggling if he doesn't get himself to a flying start, which so far, as we've seen with that long raid, he hasn't really managed to do so. So now a chance for Selby, taking that red away as he drops the red into the yellow pocket, getting the brown to be a nice little cushion for him if he runs himself out of position. But I think there might be a massive shot coming up here, because he's got himself top side of a blue. Can he try and play it into the reds? Because otherwise he's going to have to play for one very specific red. I think he is going to try and go for this, and it's a brilliant split. The question is he going to be lined up on anything? And the answer is not going to be the one, which will please Mark Selby massively, because I'm pretty sure, apart from a red into the left middle, despite him playing that shot superbly well, he still didn't really manage to be lined up too well on the red to be lined up in towards the left middle. And is he going to be lined up for a shot in towards the right corner to be taken here? I'm not so sure about it either, but there might be an opportunity which would see Selby having to play a safety shot rather than making sure that he's going to have to try and test his skills with an opportunity of the red taking into the left corner. But we're still thinking about it. Amazing split off the back it was. Didn't really get him anywhere though, and I'm surprised to see Selby going for a shot like this, because he needs luck. He didn't get any on the previous shot. Let's see if he gets any now. And, well, this is why I said I'm surprised that he's taking that shot on there, because let's see if he's on the pink. That might not be the worst case scenario here if he's still on the pink, but he sort of brought the black into the play nicely. But let's see if he can get through to the pink. If he can't, it's going to have to be a safety battle, and it doesn't seem like he is about to be preparing for a shot on the pink into the right middle. So negative is the answer, and therefore just looking at the safety shot to be played off the green. Yeah, I mean, was very unlucky there, Mark Selby, with the split. Probably was fortunate to get the red away from Saengkham, but at the end, who's your favourite player? Ronnie O'Sullivan. That unfortunately doesn't seem to be playing too well, so I'd probably say right now to watch Zhao Xington, but to support, it's not really one of them, apart from Ronnie. Fair. You can't really go wrong with that, can you? Mine's Mark Selby. Well, I'll tell you what, I was absolute hater of Mark Selby when he beat Ronnie in 2014, but every single time the year's gone by, I've certainly not started, but I've continued to respect him a lot more and more, and now he's certainly one of, if not the most admirable player for everything, for the way that he plays the game, for how underrated he is, for the way that he sees the game, and for the way that he approaches it with his brain working and functioning completely differently, and just how underrated he is. Four-time world champ, but never gets any credit at all. Frame 7 was big blow for the pawn to lose. It was, for the right or the wrong reason. Can he now try and recover from being 7 points down in the frame number 9? For now, just carefully rolling the cue ball towards the red and making sure he just dumps that cue ball to be on the black ball cushion. So can't really rely on playing this shot for too long, but he can rely on it for the time being. But yeah, I mean, when it comes to Selby, as I always said, I had in 2015, 16, 14, I always was scared of 3 players in this order. Robertson number 1, which was always scaring me as a O'Sullivan fan. Bingham number 2, and then Selby purely for that. I don't really remember seeing Ronnie and Selby play too many times, but that 2014 World Championship, which was the first proper match that I've seen, has forever given me very much a lot of frustration into it. Especially, I feel Napon will do a Jimmy White. Well, we'll see, because he can do a Jimmy White, but at the same time, is he going to be down to Jimmy White in ranking events, or is he going to be down to an opportunity? My theory is Ronnie, as never know what we're going to get with him. Hendry at his peak was best, I'd say, brutal stuff. Yeah, but I think with Hendry, it's one thing about longevity, which I think deserves a little bit more admiration, but also I think it's the competition next to you, which I think what makes those tournaments for Saengkham to be a lot more credible than, something that would have happened in the 90s, because you don't really have the players of Trumps, Murphy and O'Sullivan caliber that you're going to play in one part of the draws. By the way, I mean, look at that from Saengkham. He certainly took the pressure to himself. He rubbed it on him and he decided, you know what, I'm going to throw it straight back at you, because that was brilliant there from the pawn Saengkham. As much as it was risky, well, he certainly got the result that he wanted, and absolutely there is going to be an acknowledgement from Mark Selby as well. But yeah, I mean, with Jimmy White, I mean, it depends on which Jimmy you talk about. The one that didn't win the World Championship, or the one that managed to win a couple of ranking titles to his name as well. But yeah, Naponi's going to struggle here. And especially, you can see the first couple of shots that they've seen the second session to start there is nothing like what we've seen in the first part of the match. And I think that's why it was so important for Napon to try and get himself out of that position and to try and leave it down to Selby to be the man very much playing out there. To say that Selby hasn't fouled in his game is impressive, incredibly impressive. 31 points that Saengkham has given to him, 10 on the blue, 12 on one of the frames where he was playing for the red very thin, and then he still caught it full ball on the 4th attempt. And then, yeah, 5 more points when he got the blue in with the red, which was unfortunate. But I don't think he'd given Selby anything at that stage. I disagree there. You had John Higgins, who was better than now, and Ronnie and Mark Williams. Yeah, but okay, that's once again, I mean, you can say that about Selby there, plays a very delicate shot there. I mean, I can give you an analogy with tennis on that, very easy. Okay, you're right, you may be right about it, but how about, are you going to find someone like, I'm talking about tennis, you may seem to have that right now, Sinner and Anklas are playing better than the big 3, but when you've got a lot more players on the tour in tennis, like it was Del Potro, like it was Berdych, like it was Ferrer, like it was Murray, like it was Tsonga, you've got the same thing on the snooker level right now, whereas the top might be down to Zington, Weezer and Trump. But how about someone like Mark Allen, the world number 12? How about someone like Stuart Bingham, the world number 18? What's he done to Higgins, right now? To Hussein, 6-0. To Zhang, 6-3. How about Saengkham himself, that was able to defeat Ronnie in Trump in the first round, Ronnie in the second round, Murphy in round 3, Joey Long in round 4, and he's got Selby. I mean, does it get any tougher than that? Lisowski's round was really good last season at the Northern Ireland, but I don't think it was anywhere near as big as this. I think if anything, the only player that compares with this run is Chipchaya because of how lower ranked he is. And, you know, at the same time, Selby's now, yeah, he's going to smell blood here, you know. He's played a brilliant shot to get the cue ball past all the reds, and he's managed to put a long red, which we haven't really seen on too many occasions for him. He may still have to play a snooker in behind the yellow. And stay calm and don't be careless. There is a chance to win. Thank you very much, T-shirt. Yeah, I tell you what, something that Selby's doing really well, and he's certainly trying to read into that message, as he's now going to roll the cue ball in behind the yellow. Just doesn't seem like those long reds are getting him anywhere for now, but he's certainly going to get the cue ball in behind the yellow here. And that, of course, will frustrate Saengkham even more, because you feel like you can't really win in a situation like this, and it's a bit of a, you know, it's a bit of a close circle for him. Because if Selby gets on the colour, he obviously plays that one super well, but if he doesn't, he's going to layer snooker in behind the yellow, and then he's very likely to get yet another opportunity with 12 reds at the table. Rodney John and no constant, well, what used to be now. No, I understand that, but once again, I mean, how many times we've seen last season someone like Chang Min Yu to come away from nowhere at the Scottish Open, you know, destroy everyone, and find himself to be beating Murphy with 4 centuries, or, you know, beating the likes of Selby and Wilson. And which rank is he on right now? And right now, after reaching the final of the Scottish, I should say, you know, at that point he would have been something like the world number 80. Or do you need a reminder about Jiang John in the Welsh, who was able to take Wu Yizep to the decider, and you know, very much get himself one frame away from being in the semi-final, despite being the world number 86 at that point as well. So I think the tour right now is incomparable to what it was. Yes, you might say the top players are better. The top 3 might be better than what they are right now. When you talk about maybe even top 5 with Hendry, O'Sullivan, Higgins, Williams, and someone like Doherty or whoever, Peter Ebden, if you want to put him in that equation as well. But you're not really going to have those Chang Min Yus, the Nippon Saengkham, the Jiang Zheng, the Chipchaya News, the Stuart Binghams, the Ali Carters, that have all been very quiet, but on their day, they can certainly shoot. And I'd say Dockwich was the hardest to beat in tennis of all. Maybe, don't really know about, not really too familiar with that name, I'll be fair, but you know, certainly not. Ooh, that's a little bit wide there from the Reds. Saengkham underrun on the previous occasion, but this time, I think there is going to be a chance for Selby, although I'm not sure. I mean, there seems to be plenty of options here, but I'm not sure if either one of them is actually going to work for Mark Selby. The second session will be more technical and self-controlled. Selby's so good at these things, I believe that Selby will win 10 frames to 6. Well, Saya, we're very much shaking hands on that, because that's exactly what I think. Before the match started, I said 10-5 to me to Selby, but since I don't expect him to win 6 out of 7, I would expect him to win 6 out of 8. Or something like that, but once again, it depends on what we're going to see. Sorry, Knockwich, the check, I can't spell much. I will have a look, but still, unfortunately, it doesn't really change for me. I will have a look right now, since the referee's trying to re-spot the cue ball there for Saengkham. Well, doesn't really tell anything now, but let's see. Attempt number 3 coming up, meanwhile, as Saengkham is still trying to get himself off the left side cushion, and this time around, surely, well, I mean, I say surely, last time around he was walking away from the table for good. This time around, is there going to be a gap for the red to squeeze past another red and a black to be taken into the right corner? Well, seems to be the case, and now with Selby having 16 points of a lead as well, he's about to get himself a chance of potting the red into the corner, make sure he's going to be on the black, and then, as I say, he's got himself an opportunity. You know, the go in tennis one most. Djokovic, sorry. That was quite far away, you know, Knockwich. And he's not the Czech, he's Serbian. which was I was thinking about it, you know. Yeah, Djokovic, yeah. But I count him as the big 3, with Nadal, Federer, and himself, of course. Yeah, I was going to say, because never heard of that name, and I thought, you know, my knowledge is pretty solid in that one. But I tell you what, the position is going to be really solid here for Selby, because now he's got the opportunity. Not only has he got 24 points of a lead, and ultimately still looking at the red to be taken into the right corner. And still positioning himself nicely for the pink and the brown. And yeah, I mean, the black is still going to be a little bit compromising to the left corner, but I don't think he's going to have to worry about that one too much. Because as I say, he's got the pink, he's got the brown, he's got the blue, all to be at the lower end of the table. Yes, of course, the brown is going to have to go back onto its own spot, but for a one-off shot, to get yourself out of trouble, it should be very nice indeed for him to try and score some extra points here. But as I say, I think we are just starting to pick off exactly where he left, with it being, you know, the match that has sort of stalled for Selby when he was 4 down. Yeah, right enough, he's Serbian. I forget where they're from there. Yeah, he's certainly from Serbia. But yeah, I think you felt like the match was going to get away from Selby when he was about to lose 2-5. Remember, that is still going to be by far the biggest, you know, difference maker. Because that 7th frame, whatever you think about that blue, let's put it fair, Saengkham had a 57 points lead, and Selby was able to very much catch up to him, which, you know, was pretty much poor management there from the position of Saengkham, because whatever you think about it, he should have done a little bit more, and therefore, you're going to have to say, he was a decent comeback from Selby, he put himself right in the mix, and after that lengthy battle on the blue, whether it did caught the blue or not, the cue ball, you still have to say Selby deserved that comeback to a certain extent, and now, you know, never really stopped from that point. Giving away too many points, need to stay composed and wait for the right moment. Thank you very much, Letitia. Yes, and I would actually agree with that. I think leaving away too many chances has certainly been the problem that we haven't really seen in the first 6 frames from the pond, but I think from the second part of that 7th frame, that probably was down to him to be struggling, and you know, unfortunately, as I say, he hasn't really recovered from that point so far. Tactical play has always been the pond's weakness. I would disagree with that. I think, yes, in this frame he has, but I think overall he's played about as good as he could have against someone like Mark Selby. I think his biggest problem is his positional play, and his biggest problem of positional play has been the issue of the whole tournament. You know, his brilliant ability of playing some great shots under pressure has been good, but you also have to say you can't rely on every single time having to play those type of shots there. You need to be getting the position to be sorted out for you. He hasn't done that, and well, unfortunately for him, it now leaves him with his back exposed to the wall. I hope he wins though. As I said, all I wanted was Napon to try and take a narrow margin of a lead in the first session, and I said, if that happens, I'm not going to ask for something else, but what I would like to see is at least for him to win 7 frames. You know, that's all I ask right now, but just to make it a bit of a closer match than it seems like it is turning out to be there, because Selby now is about to win the 3rd frame in a row, playing really well, really consistent. His long shots are starting to get awakened as well. His positional play has never been the issue today. Well, some of the occasions, but not really a massive issue. His spot success has been really good. So you can't really find a flaw in him. I mean, the positional play being not brilliant is not really enough there to try and challenge when you've got someone like Napon Saengkham to be on the other side of the table. So we'll see what's going to happen. Yes, go on, Selby. 10-7, come on. I think it probably looks very nicely for 10-7, 10-6 right now. It's hard to put your finger on which one is it going to be, but, you know, it looks nicely for it now. We may see a complete turnaround, or we may see just Selby just completely annihilating Saengkham there, because, you know, we've seen Joey Long to find himself in those situations where he was 4-1 up against Mark Cullen. I think he lost that match 9-4 in the World Champ in the English Open final. So, you know, plenty of things that can happen, and whether it's going to be down to the nerves, whether it's going to be down to the mental block of him watching and looking in that blue again and again, which I think he should not have been done. I think he should have tried to practice on the things and the mistakes that have got him into that position in the previous and the next frame, and I think he should have, you know, tried to be a little bit more clinical. He didn't really have a chance for now, but we'll see what's going to happen later on. He needs to forget he's in the final and play his own game like against Judd, Sean and Co. and win in that form. Yes, I agree. It's not an easy thing to do though, especially now since Selby is about to win 3rd frame in a row with a break of 50 points exactly. Now, looking at the red, which you want to just drop in there, he's not played a brilliant positional shot for it, but he should be able just to carefully cut that one towards the left middle and make sure that he would get the job done right here, right now. Barring snookers, which, you know, with four remaining reds to be all on the cushion, you wouldn't really fancy the punt to even get up from his seat if Selby was to get a red and a colour combination. Because the red will put him 67 points clear with 59 on the table, and the black will put him 74 points clear with the same number of points at the table. But for now, it's a delicate cut in towards the middle, and he's going to be made very well indeed there for Mark. Overrun slightly for the black, but as I say, I think the job should be done at this stage, and he will be. 67 points, which is the lead for Mark Selby, with only 59 at the table as it stands. Still looking to try and go for the black. I went into the left corner, so he's able to do that. So I don't think we're going to see any more of the pot Saengkham in frame number 9. So he's going to have to be finding himself behind for the second time in this match. And ultimately, are we seeing another champion of champions, where Mark Selby was just very carefully building his lead and making sure that he will be extending his lead the further we go into the match. And for now, the red is going to stay out. I don't think there is any value in taking the red on. We'll see what Napon thinks about it, and he's going to agree with me on that one. So, a break of 58 is going to be more than enough there from Mark Selby to get himself a 5th frame on the board. And now, it will be his 3rd one that he's managed to win on the bounce. Napon Saengkham now has found himself with winning 4 frames in the first 9, and he's now going to have to try and find himself to be bouncing away from a bit of a negative performance in the previous couple of frames, as he's now going to be trailing Mark Selby by 5 frames to 4. Very positive frame for Selby. I think he's managed to play that one for 90 out of 100. There's not a lot that you can say he's done wrong, and there's a lot of things that he's done right. I think the long shots, you had to play them twice, and he managed to get both of them in. It wasn't the first time that he got him in the chance. He had, I think, 2 or 3 opportunities to try and clear the table. But realistically, the last one was always going to be the one where the points were going to be scored. And, ultimately, yes, he didn't manage to get on the colour straight away, but he still managed to get in behind the yellow with the cue ball. And after 2 unsuccessful attempts from Saengkham, the 3rd one eventually cost him. And, Selby was able to take it from there and make a break of 58 points, which is now going to find himself in a very good position. Yes, a lot of it is in the mind, really. That's why Ronnie and Hendry were top, so they played under pressure in the biggest matches like that semi, where Selby Ronnie went nuts and just went for broke. Yes, still remember the camera that they were showing on Eurosport when he was down to 14 play 16, and I was saying, well, you know what, at least I can go to bed soon because I know this is not going to stay for long. And then Ronnie wins 2 quickfire frames and manages to have an absolute blockbuster in the decider. Napon's still thinking frame 7, we'll see, but he is. It's not really going to get him anywhere. By the way, Peter, do you think that the blue was moving? I want everyone to tell me if they think the blue was moving, because I'm not going to be moved on that. I said it hasn't moved. I've seen the replay 100 times, and I still haven't seen the blue move for certain. When Selby leads, he will be more relaxed and patient, while Napon will be more struggling. Agree? And that's absolutely why Napon had to take that lead in the first session, but ultimately, that's why he can't really allow Selby to be ahead. Because when he's ahead, Selby, it can only go right for him. When he's behind, arguably, from 4-2 down, he was still able to come back really well. And at the same time, we'll see what's going to happen there, it would seem. Which blue are you? Come on, Peter, you know which blue I'm talking about. You know exactly which blue I'm talking about. On the right side cushion in the 7th frame, where he had the foul. I watched it several times too. Cannot say if the blue moved or not. Would say no. But yeah, listen, I feel like for me, I wanted to say yes, but then I thought about it, and I probably want to say yes because I've seen 100 people to say that he was moving. But I still can't honestly say that I do think that the blue has moved. And my counterpoint is that Napon and Selby looked at it when the replay alongside the referee, and clearly, whatever it was, there wasn't a long discussion where Napon was on his knees asking, no, it's not a foul. He said he felt like he hit it. He then watched the replay on Selby, and then straight away they agreed it was down to him and Selby to agree that he was a foul and a miss. And ultimately, listen, people say that he was down to it. I say he wasn't down to the first time he missed the blue. I say he was down to the second time he missed the blue. And yes, you could say if he hit it first time, it doesn't really happen. But what he should have realized is that he changes the complete situation for him if he misses it the second time. And what he did is that taking the blue and the pink now didn't mean enough. So he needed the black. Without that second miss on the blue, there would have been no problem. And it would have been 5-2 at least after the 7 frames. So I'll check replay. Okay. Selby has defense, attack, snookers, a complete player. Agree, once again, very difficult to judge. And I also think that Selby is very underrated when it comes down to his scoring opportunities, just because people look at his safety and they don't look at how well he's able to score. Yes, he hasn't really scored too well today, but let's see that. Napon needs to make sure he finds all the right margins there, because Selby got him in a snooker, and you just feel like he's going to be able to, potentially subject to a little bit of a wobble when he comes down to his own performance. Selby will move up to world number 5 in the rankings, where he deserves to be. Exactly, Gareth. First session, frame 7. Napon played the safety very delicately on the blue. The referee called foul and a miss. Napon said he hit it. Both players gone to see on the replay. First time I saw that. It can play on your mind, that blue thing, as you could be 5-2. Huge difference that is. Yeah, I agree. But once again, my point still stands. He missed it first time. It didn't change anything. On the scoreboard, it didn't change anything. The Selby still needed... Oh, yeah. Selby now didn't need a black, because at that point, he would have been able to get himself a respot. But for Napon to be scoring, it didn't change anything. The second time when he missed it, all of a sudden, in terms of just needing the blue and the pink, now he needed the blue, the pink, and the black. He got the blue and the pink. He didn't get the black. And that was purely self-inflicted to me. As Napon there plays a good safety shot. Selby will tell you just how good it was in a couple of seconds ago, because if he's going to try and go for the red into the corner, clearly there is going to be a gap, which would go and see that race to go past the black there. And the referee kept the foul and a miss. Napon played again, and the blue and the missed again. He finished by hitting hardly on the blue by frustration. Absolutely spot on. That analysis was spot on. And also, one thing you have to say, Napon was lucky not to leave that blue, because there was no sign of control on that blue. So the fact that he didn't leave that one away to Selby is another thing there. And I feel like people are twisting facts here. The referee didn't just pull the cue ball out of the pocket and gave it to Selby, put the blue onto the brown spot and said, now you can play from here. That was complete and utter failure from Napon to live up to the expectations of his own. And yes, you could say the referee had a role to play in that, but once again, from my point of view, the blue didn't move, and therefore there were plenty of mistakes from Saengkham in that frame. And just because the referee potentially has weighed 1, which I'm still not going to agree on after watching so many replays, for me that's probably going to be good enough that the referee can't do that on the first time of asking. He needs to not go too behind Selby at safe. He kept near. He will beat Selby. Well, I think he needs to try and start scoring for now, because I don't really remember him scoring any points in the previous frame, and now I just feel like Selby can run away with this one. I mean, he's lost the cue ball again, but he's played a brilliant long red, and a bit of disappointment in his face, because I think he knows he should have played a little bit higher there, a little bit lower, I should say, at the table, and be sort of alongside the bulk line, but at least being on the yellow, which is at the top part of the D, but he may have to just roll that cue ball in behind the yellow here. And, unfortunately for him, he's not going to be able to continue the break from here. It seemed like he might be able to go for the black into the left corner, but he decided not to try and take 2 long shots in a sequence of the 2 of them. But now, Saengkham now is about to come back to the table and just getting back down to the safety shots yet again. Playing the red into towards the bunch of the reds onto the right corner and making sure the cue ball is going to give him a huge boost towards the blue. And, now we'll see on how close the red is going to be towards the right corner pocket. Selby's having a very good look at it as well. But at the same time, I think there will be an opportunity of the blue to be in between the colour the red I should say, and the cue ball, and it is visible, but I don't think enough of a portion of a red is visible there for Selby to go for that red in towards the right corner. So we'll see what's going to happen. But at this stage, it doesn't seem like something that is actually going to influence Selby too much. As he now play the red towards the corner. Well, he needs to make sure, of course, he's the one that has covered the red, or at least put the cue ball somewhat safe. Well, we got one of those two things right. He put the cue ball very close towards the ball cushion, but the red is still available there to the right corner. He has beat Selby twice in the past. Was looking at the cue tracker last night, so that helps. I think it was 4-2 overall. I think it was a lot more than that, because he's beaten Selby. Yes, I agree he's beaten Selby twice, but one at the Scottish Open, one at the tournament I can't remember. At 5-4, I think he beat him at the World Grand Prix, something like that. But of course they had the incredible match at the Crucible in 2020. Let's have a look at if he's going to be able to walk the red away. He needs this point on the board. He gets the red in. He gets very, very fortunate not to drop the cue ball. And look at how he got that cue ball to be lined up for the black. I tell you what, that was about as close as it can be. How on earth the red dropped into the pocket, the cue ball didn't, and he's still in there with a chance of playing for the black. Although, I'm not sure of how he's going to be looking to try and get himself through to the reds, unless the highest of them all is taken into the right corner. No, that wasn't the case, so he decided to try and play into them, and it didn't work out badly, you know, because he's got it ready to the left corner. So, could this be a bit of a chance for the new life there for Nippon Saengkham in this match? And after losing 3 frames in a row, you have to say, it's a very good opportunity that he finds himself with, but as I say, at the same time, it's one of those positions that you never really want to be at, because you lose a chance like that, could be match over. Selby won at World 13-12, I only saw that because Selby mentioned that yesterday. And then obviously you look at the head-to-heads, and I've seen they've played each other twice at the Scottish Open in the last 2 years, which is pretty funny. And one of those seasons, you know, the opponent was able to beat Selby in 2024, which was the year after he was able to get himself to the final of the Scottish Open. And then, of course, last season he played against Selby, but Marcus won by 4 frames to 0. Meanwhile, we're going to have a look at the ping to be taken towards the right middle, towards the right corner, I should say. And yeah, the position is still a very interesting one for you to see, because I think, should you be able to get a couple of those reds out of the way there, into the left part of the table, there should be more of the reds coming up to be available. But, you know, will be a bit of time until that would have happened. But Nippon there, clearly having a look in between the middle of the reds to the right corner as well. Had a look at it, clearly wasn't satisfied with it, so he's going to have to go for the red that he's actually intended to play for. The one in towards the left middle. So once again, needs this frame and needs to just try and stay with Selby here for as long as he possibly can. But also, you know, in the next frame, if he would have won frame number 10, he needs to try and get himself with his nose ahead once again, because trying to play catch-up to Selby is not going to be an easy mission for him to accomplish. And, well, we'll see what's going to happen. Chris Wakelin has never beaten Judd. I think it's 9-0. A lot in the mind there is. I'd say chances twice at least. Chris Wakelin and Judd Trump. Don't really remember them playing last season, which is surprising given the situation of Wakelin there. But, I mean, I don't know what Saengkham played for. I think he was trying to go for the third lowest red of them all, but seems to have messed up the position. And from nowhere, I thought he might see a gap in between the reds. In the end, that's not the case, and he didn't play a good safety either. So he needs the yellow now to come to his rescue, which I think he did. Yeah, I mean, he still seems like he's nowhere near being comfortable in this match, doesn't he? Because he could have easily left that red available, but for now, whether he played for that yellow to be between the cube or the red doesn't really matter. That red still should have not been anywhere near the pocket. And Selby, of course, is going to have a similar thing on his mind, where he either wants to try and remove that red, which is not going to be a possibility he would feel, unless he plays a shot from the cushion, which there's no reason to do, but he needs to get cover on that red. And of course he needs to try and do that strategically in relation to the black and the pink are now out of play. So for you to make that red work, you need to be pretty straight or have the angle on the cue ball to try and take it around the table and to the top edge of it as well. It's a Kamo. You can give it your best. Even though you lost, you still get a prize of 4 million back. Well, listen, thank you, Letitia, once again, but I don't think you can take a 5-4 on the scoreline as a loss yet, especially since you're leading by 29 points to 1. I feel like yet another frame loss here, especially if he's unable to hold on to his 28 points of a lead, will be a problem. Same with Ronnie and Carter. He never beat Ronnie till lately. It was 12-0, I think, before. Yes, because I remember that match as well. Oh, that was close, but Saengkham was unable to get that red in. But once again, I mean, I don't understand the problem of Saengkham and positional play there. I mean, what was he playing for? Okay, he gets a red in brilliantly, but what if he doesn't get the red and he leaves it over the pocket? Like, right now, he's lined up on anything, and he missed that red with a very, very small margin for an error. So I think his IQ has to be questioned sometimes, and especially since, you know, that 4-2 of a lead, I just think some of his short selections have been absolutely dreadful. And, you know, Selby is going to be the last person that he can afford to be doing that against, because he'll just take you apart because of it. It'll be likely to be difficult to beat Selby in the long match. Yes, and the thing about Carter and Ronnie, of course, that was in the World Championship when they had the shoulder barge, I'm pretty sure. And then Carter can't seem to stop beating Ronnie right now because he beat him last season in the German Masters and had a good campaign out of it as well. And yeah, I mean, you know, just one defeat sometimes can set up a sequence. And that's something that Ali has certainly been capable of. But as he said to Mark Selby, Ronnie's name should be banned at the house for the history in between themselves. Especially, you know, I think you can forget about 2000 and which year would that have been? 2020 when they had the shoulder barge and Carter won 13-9 or 13-10. I think that would have been 2020. No, sorry, because Ronnie won that one. What are you talking about? I don't know then. 2018, 2020, something like 2019, I should say, something like that. And then, of course, they had the World Championship in 2012 and 2008. Very surprised with that from Selby. Very, very surprised indeed. And that could be a bit of a blow to him when it comes down to this particular frame. He's gone for the red. Let's see. Yeah, he missed that one by a bit of a margin there, Selby. So he's gone for a long red into the corner. He made a bit of a chaos out of that one. And now he's going to leave Napon right in amongst the reds. Yeah, these East lot don't have the greatest active shot choice. Higgins always played the right shot. Agree. One thing about Higgins is that he does have the ability to see what's happening ahead of him and very much analyse. And 9 times out of 10, he'll make the right decision when it comes down to a very important moments in the match as well. Not just down to, you know, the match itself actually, but also down to a frame. How many deciders and how many black ball battles was he able to win? For now, well, once again, I mean, he didn't really get too much choice there, Napon, because he was lined up straight on the black there. But you feel like, and that's purely my eye test, we're not going to see a lot more of Napon there because he seems like, whatever it is, he now plays with frustration. It's second time right now in this frame that he's rattled the cue ball in the jaws, and the second time that he got away with it, but I don't think he's going to keep on getting away with it here. And unless he turns the page around very quickly, he will find himself losing frames for fun at this stage as well. 8-10 for Napon, and Napon to win 10 frames to 9. We'll see, but I mean, is he going to be playing for a safety shot and trying to get the cue ball towards the green pocket, or is he going to try and go for the red in towards the right middle? There's the answer. Well, at least now he's decided to go for a reasonable shot selection, but still didn't play that shot too well. And he's now going to have to settle for just 8 points on the break, and still seemingly struggling a little bit to try and respond to Mark Selby's performance. And it just needs to be making sure he doesn't allow himself and his head to get away from him. He still needs to be concentrated on everything that is happening, and he needs to try and do that right here, right now. Higgins is one of my favourite players, such a dangerous old guy. Again, Selby, long pots are weakness. Eyes go slightly, I'd say 10% less at his peak. Can make big difference. Well, so far, he hasn't really made a massive advantage towards Naphon Saengkham. But how about this then? I tell you what, I disagree with that. And that's the reason why I disagree with you, because Selby has missed one long red. But I tell you what, he's already managed to make around 3 of them in these 2 frames. 2 right at the start of the session, and now once again a beauty into the corner, and he's now going to be potentially going for the blacking towards the left part of the table as well. This is when you're going to have to shut up shop for Naphon Saengkham, because Selby is going to be coming for you, and he's not going to be coming for you for long, because he'll be coming for the title very, very soon. 6-4, we would see him very far away there from Naphon Saengkham, and would see a massive turnaround in this match already. Mark Williams, my favourite. Plenty of reasons for that to be the case, but yeah, I think just Selby starting to run away with it. Yeah, class act, John. Sees double on Mark Cullen, the world champ. Ooh, yeah, that was horrible. Horrible. I mean, you're absolutely exposed if that doesn't go to plan. But he made that one in a decider, by the way. And talk about the decider when, he's had, I think that was the one that he lost to Williams in a decider on the black, which allowed Williams to be through to the next stage where, the season before last, where he got himself in the final against Yao Xington. So, yeah, plenty of great moments there in between Mark Williams and John Higgins for both of them, but also combined as well. Now, it'll be interesting to see the way Selby approaches this frame, because he's now 27 points down so far. Every single time he's had an opportunity to try and steal the frame away from Naphon, he's been able to do that, not just for, the 5 frames that he's won, but also the 4 frames that Naphon has managed to win. Every single time there wasn't really a sign of Selby to be anywhere near him, apart from maybe 1 or 2 occasions, which I still think there weren't. And every single time there was a little bit of a battle, it always seems like the result is the same. Mark Selby getting himself yet another frame on the board. So 24 points now is the lead for Naphon Saengkham, which is going to evaporate very quickly if Selby just keeps on scoring some good points. He's played for the red onto the left corner to be taken along the cushion. So it's now down to 17 points the gap. And Selby, of course, will need all of the reds, which, is about to take the awkward one away. He's got one more awkward like this on the opposite side of the table, and then he's going to have the difficult one to try and deal with as well. As the good news is, he's taken the first awkward red away, and he's only got one more awkward red, and another one, which I would say a big problem for him because of how quite far away it is from the right middle, so you can't really just try and push that one towards the middle pocket. You're just going to have to try and make your way towards a chance to be taking that red away into the left part of the table. So the top side of the cue ball still being utilised with plenty of spin. Being lined up for the left side of a black here, just trying to drop that cue ball in behind the black very carefully and making sure that he'll find himself to be exactly level on points there with Naphon Saengkham, with an opportunity to be passing the red, and then he will be down to 37 points each as he now makes the black to disappear into the right corner. And now will be down to 36 plays 37. Still an opportunity here for Mark to try and play a shot backspin wise towards the ping and just get him lined up on the black yet again. Probably a little bit of top side of a black that he can play, and therefore allow himself to be in that position of being top side of the next red. As I say, it still needs to get the easy reds to be sorted out. Then he can get to the awkward one, and then he can try and do something with the problem red as well. What's the frame score? It is going to be 44 plays 37. 5 frames to 4 Mark Selby. So that's going to be what it is down to. As Selby now leads by 44 to 37 in the 10 frame after having won 3 previous frames, which now allow him to be leading this match for only the second frame. After he had a 2-1 lead and now 5-4 of a lead as well. Still looking to try and take the black away into the left corner, making sure the cue ball is now going to come towards a very problematic red, and he's managed to bring that one about as nicely into play as he could, and he's still being positioned on the awkward red. So with one shot there, he's managed to fix 2 issues at the same time, as it's now going to be, well, 15 points of a lead, but ultimately, if he gets those 2 reds in with 2 colours, there's not going to be any chance for the pawn to do anything else throughout this particular frame, and, well, it's not bye-bye just yet, but if he loses the next frame, it may as well be 7 frames to 4 down. It will be incredibly difficult for him to try and recover, and right now, as I say, still very much keeping that sequence to be going there for Selby, as even though Napon had a 37-1 of a lead, he never seemed like he had full control over the frame, and now, with breaks of 58 points, Selby's about to find himself in full control for this match, but also for the frame as well. 23 points is the lead, so if he takes the brown away, he'll need the yellow as a frame ball, and then he will be down to yet another chance here for a nice little total clearance for Mark Selby. Can't really make a century break, but he can still make a break of up to 91 points if he does take this one all the way. For now, being on the yellow, just carefully trying to drop this one in and be lines up for the green, just to make sure there's not going to be any problems there with not getting up there from the Saengkham's point of view, and there won't be, as the yellow is now going to disappear in towards its own pocket, and Mark Selby has found himself to be turning this match around. Remember, 57 points down in frame number 7, he's now managed to come back and win every single one of those frames, including that one. And of course, that now leaves him with 4 frames in a row. I would say first try did very, very slightly touch blue ball. Again, okay, thank you, because I wanted to ask you for that. But let's see now. I think the poll is, stuck at 70% there. So I will do the poll as soon as the frame is going to be over and Selby is going to be able to finish off with his own break. We will see on do you actually think if the blue was touched. So it'll be interesting to see, because plenty of people said they did. Some people, me included, say they didn't, but it seems like the majority is sticking to that. The blue was certainly not moved. Sorry, the blue was moved, but I'm still going to be very much stubborn person that I am, sticking to my original view, which was that the blue stayed exactly where it was before the contact, or, before any contact was made 2 shots later. Great break there from Mark Selby of exactly 90 points at the end, and he's still going to be very much in control of this match. And let's now do the poll. Do you think the blue in frame 7 moved? I think we all know which one it was, and if you don't, then you can just skip the poll for now. So let's see, Napon said he did, and most of the time snooker players are very honest. I agree with that, Letitia, I agree, but alternatively, you have to go with what the referee says. I think that's the rule. And also, I think unless both players agree that that is the case, then they can overrule the referee, which is what happened in that final against Selby and Trump, where Trump was saying it's not a free ball, Selby was going to benefit from that free ball, referee saying it is a free ball, and then Selby comes to the table and says it's not a free ball, so then both Selby and Trump agreed on that, so the referee had to yield. Mud condition has improved. There is absolutely no margin for error when playing against Selby. Yes, absolutely, and that is the right point. You have to say that it's absolutely the way for you to go forward, but unfortunately, Saengkham has just not really managed to do anything to try and stop that winning sequence of Selby, and of course it's going to be very much impacting his well-being, but also the way that he approaches the game. But listen, there's not a lot that you can do about it. You're just going to have to try, dig really deep, and make sure that when the chance comes your way, you're going to be there to try and take it. And that's about as much of an advice as can be given to you, because if you don't do that, then, may as well not turn up for the second session, because it was never going to be easy. You were going to make your life a little bit easier if you won the 7th or the 8th frame, but in the end, losing both of them put you down to 4 frames each. And as I say, now we're entering the zone where you're going to have to perform here, or you won't be able to perform at all until the end of the match, which of course would mean the end of the tournament for you as well. There are still opportunities there for Napon to try and exploit chances against Selby, but you have to say he hasn't really done well when it comes down to scoring and utilizing those opportunities, because, you know, you can see that his highest break is going to be stuck at 80, which was surpassed in the previous frame by Selby. But a lot more importantly, his average break is going to be still 12 points down on Selby, which is a massive thing there if you think about it. And yet, ball spotted are going to be only 2 more balls that Selby has managed to pot rather than Napon Saengkham, and yet he finds himself to be 2 frames clear. How did that happen? Well, every single one of those frames that was close, it was down to Selby to be winning that frame, and every single time there was a chance for Napon without, you know, being leaving a room for Selby, then of course Saengkham was able to win those frames. But you think about it, 37 points he had the lead in the previous frame, and he didn't manage to get anywhere with those points despite having such a good chance on their first raid. You know, then he was very straight on the black, wasn't able to do anything with it, and as I say, it's now or never for Saengkham, otherwise it'll be down to him. WST put that frame on YouTube. Commentary did agree, blue were ever so slightly, however, both players and the referee later watched TV cameras, think super slow-mo, final decision was a miss. Yes, I agree, and I've seen the clips on social media. I didn't see it on YouTube because there was no need to. It's going to be the same commentary because it's the only English commentary in snooker. And I've seen what they said. They said the blue is moved. Once again, okay, not going to argue too much. As I say, I understand the majority thinks that blue has moved. And 80% of you say that he has moved. So, okay. Once again, I don't mind to being 20%, but, you know, I don't think I've seen it. And I'm not going to just go with your opinion because that's what the majority say. Sometimes you have to be a sheep. Sometimes you have to try and stay away from the pack because, oh, that was close. But even though he was close to being a disaster from Napon Saengkham, he's still, I mean, how can you make one shot to go from bad to brilliant to bad again in a space of a couple of seconds there? He was very close to be getting a touch off the right middle. Then he was very close to be getting the cue ball in behind the green. And now he's still left plenty of options here for Selby to try and go for the long raid. And that's the first time I see 2 players allowed to watch a replay like that. No. I've seen plenty more. But it's a little bit weird. Sometimes they don't really allow you to do that, which is weird. But yeah, I've certainly seen that before. But yeah, it's been a while, I have to say, since I remember seeing one of those particular incidents, because it does seem like with technology nowadays, they just leave it to the referee, and then whatever the referee says, that's usually the call. But yeah, I suppose because it's one of those situations where really, like, you can't really think of another solution like that where you're going to need both of the players to see, and that's going to hurt. And that's going to be right lower than the back. Selby there playing a bit of a dodgy safety shot and getting a very firm kiss off the brown. And where do you think the cue ball has gone? It's gone perfectly in behind the yellow, with the reds being spread out way away from each other. It doesn't seem like the luck, as you're going to say, on the Napon Saengkham side, which it was, you have to say, in the first part of the match. Not now, it doesn't seem to be. And, well, as I said, the previous frame, you could see the signs of frustration. You could see signs of some silly shots there to be played. But this is where you can really do all the damage to you, not just physically, but also mentally. And you do, you know, just think about, what am I doing here? And how am I going to have to try and come up with a solution against this? Napon now, very difficult to win, in my view, being super nice, humble guy. His mental strength has been greatly affected, not easy to overcome. We'll see. Well, we'll see, as I say. He didn't really have to overcome any gaps in his matches previously, apart from being 3-1 down to Ronnie O'Sullivan. But still looking for that line in towards the right side rail, then off the left, and then hopefully for him to try and get onto the red closest to the left side cushion. Could work. Because if he catches that one very firmly on the side, I think it should be a great result for him. But I think he's gone around that red completely. But even though I don't think that was the red that he played for, I have to say, he still managed to play that shot really well. And though you see, Selby there with acknowledgement to the shot of Saengkham. It was a really good way of getting himself out of a snooker. But I have to say, It looked a little bit too good to me, off 2 cushions, to judge the contact past that red. But to be fair, the power, it seemed like he was very much judging it to that particular effect, because the cue ball literally hit the red. A moment later, he stopped. So very little power again. I hope that's not the case and he's still full of fighting spirit. Well, the previous shot suggested he is, but I think the fighting spirit is not really going to be enough there to try and challenge someone like Mark Selby. I think you're going to have to start winning some frames pretty soon, which is something that he hasn't done through the last 4 hours or so. And Selby's now going to be getting that cue ball off the table once again and finding himself to be in a fairly comfortable position here, looking down at those reds and still positioning nicely for a shot on the red to be taken towards the right corner. Saengkham has now got a chance of playing the red in towards the right part of the table, but I think he's going to refuse that one because of not really seeing a good chance to be available to get the cue ball past the reds and the black. I'll tell you what, that's going to be close, but in the end, it doesn't really want it to be too close. It's still interesting to see the way that this is going to work out, because I don't think Selby can see that red directly. The pot had a very quick look at it, and now we'll see if Mark Selby does indeed find a way to get through to that red directly, or is he going to have to try and push one of those reds into the path of the other one. In my view, meltdown is caused by this sort of a mental impairment. Well, we'll see. Come back soon, Moo. Yeah, I think he needs these next couple of frames quite badly there, because even if he wins this one but then loses the next one, you still feel like it's back to square one and he's back to a 2-frame advantage there for Selby. So let's see the way that he tackles this red though, because that pocket extension is only going to work for you if you hit it close enough to the actual pocket there. But right now, it just seems like he can't miss. I'm not even sure how he got that red to be squeezed past the other one. Let's have a look on the replay. It seemed like he went through the top of it, which I didn't seem was possible. But, well, Selby certainly thought about it. And now, once again, he's going to have to try and get himself lined up with a shot in behind the green. And yet again, when he's not on the colour, he's got a chance of rolling behind the colour here. And the pawn, not for the first time, not for the second time, not even for the third time in this second session, he's already going to have to try and find himself to be coming back from a snooker situation. So now then, a red to be available for the right hand side of the table. So we'll see what's going to happen. I think he's certainly going to try and just flick it very thin on the edge. And, well, that wasn't really thin on the edge, was it? That was straight into the side of a ball. And the cue ball is now going to be top side of a blue. There will be a red available to the right corner. 10-5 to Selby. I think 10-6, I would stick to it, but if it would be 10-5, I would be a genius, because as I said, my pre-match prediction would have been 10 frames to 5. Selby's finally Selby, exactly. He's just finally trying to be the player that will get him, you know, the maximum chances of winning those frames and matches, and I think that's something that will frustrate people, but I think you're here to win, and he's certainly not going to struggle when it comes down to some brilliant shots that he played as well. You don't have to concentrate purely on the safety shots. His potting angles have been really, really good. His positional play still has been really poor in the second session, but only when it comes down to the opening, starting points of opportunities there, when he's got a long red or a difficult red to be taken. As soon as he's going to be in the zone of the reds, I think the positional play is going to improve massively for him. And I think the scoreline is about to improve even more, because I think Mark Selby is now going to find himself with a position of trying to be on the reds towards the right corner, play that cue ball and drag it all the way towards a shot on the blue now to be taken. Thank you for the show. See you when open. Well, there you go. Maybe, but there's always chance for a fight spirit to be shown, and there's always a chance that Selby will be very much down to, you know, some sort of drop off from his own point of view, because if he does miss an easy red at this stage, you know, it's still going to be an opportunity away to Saengkham, and therefore there will be an opportunity for him to try and come back a little bit stronger, which is something that you have to still watch out for. At the end of it, you don't really have to be too cautious with your approach, but I think that's Selby and the decision that he's made in relation to the way that he wants to try and start the second session is going to be with results. And if the results are going to come with him trying to slow the game down a little bit more, then he will still be very much happy with that and with that particular outcome. For now, though, he won't necessarily be happy with the position of the colours, but he's going to try and improve the position of one of them here. Playing for the pink, towards the left middle. Plenty of backspin on those reds. Trying to get that cue ball to be lines up for the reds into the right corner. And once again, I think you are going to be surprised at this stage if we do not see 8 frames to 4 of a lead there for Mark Selby. He's just playing way too good there. And also, we're not seeing any real sign of a battle there when it comes down to Napan Saengkham. And, even the chances that he had in the previous frame, some of them were lost, some of them were not taken. But the bottom line was he had 3 opportunities and he was able to score only 37 points out of it. Remember, due to holiday, yeah. Which is my bad, but hopefully it's the first and the last time it would happen. Thank you, Letitia, for that. The blue did move. Not impressed with Selby there. Yeah, but I mean, listen. To me, he had a chance. He asked Napan there. He didn't have to do anything else. He looked at the replay. He clearly agreed with Napan, and the referee told him that the blue didn't move. Selby had a look at it, and I think from what you can see on the camera, because the camera is not going to be quite as wide as the monitor, the resolution is not going to be quite as good as that as well. So I think you just have to account those factors in there, but I think Selby is the last person that should get any stick. I think he should only get praise for, just asking the referee to have a look at it again, and then of course asking Napan if he wants to have a look at it. They both had a look. They agreed. The cue ball didn't touch the blue, and there wasn't any argument after. So, as I say, nobody asked Napan to miss it again from that stage. So we'll see what's going to happen. And no, Letitia, you are right. Sorry, I didn't read the second part of the message. Yeah, you're all right with that one. That will be starting from the last 16, which, once again, I had a look. And Wuhan Open is going to be only for 3 days, which is weird. 4 days, I should say. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for me, because the final is going to be played on a Saturday. But I think what they've done is they congested the last 16 and the quarterfinals a lot more. So it's going to be final day on Saturday, semi-finals on a Friday, quarterfinals on a Thursday, and then we're going to be back for the last 16, because they're going to have 4 matches to be played alongside each other, which on one hand, it does give you more variety in relation to which match you want to watch, but at the same time, you can only watch 2 out of 8 instead of having 4 out of 8 that you can watch when they spread them out across 2 days. And reaching finals already an achievement. Yeah, I agree. And I think, listen, it's probably one of the worst oppositions that you can be up against when you've got Mark Selby that has played so well, and I think he's played by far best of anyone in the whole season. I think Trump and Wilson are going to be second best what they've done in Shanghai Masters, but I think Selby, you can't really say that he hasn't beaten anyone, because he's beaten Pang Jing-Su, he's beaten Neil Robertson, he's beaten Karen Wilson, he's beaten Stuart Bingham, and all of these players have been playing well, apart from probably someone like Wilson or Pang, which you can't really say too much about. And I don't think there's going to be any credibility taken away from Saengkham just because he had to come across a player which for now seems like he's playing a little bit better than him. But as I say, the scoreline is still 6-4. Neil said he played. Joe said Bull moved that he was good enough for him in this game. Mark should have done the same here. It will ruin it if Selby wins. We'll see. Still have to disagree on that. I don't think, he didn't really... If that mistake impacts your mood there, then you're not really a professional snooker player, are you? Because you can't just have one thing to ruin your whole match. So what you're saying to me is that if that happens when he's 9-0, he's going to lose the match. And that's going to be justifiable just because the referee doesn't make a mistake. I mean, once again, he didn't hit it by a half a fraction, did he? Like, he didn't hit it full ball, and he rolled that one to the right corner, and the referee didn't really get the cue ball out of the pocket and said to Selby, well, here's a free ball for you. They had a look at it. I don't really understand on why people are making a story out of it as if it lost them the match. It wasn't in the deciding frame. It was at the point where he was leading 4-2. He still had a brilliant chance to clear up for 5-3 in the 8th frame anyway. And I feel like you're taking credibility away from Selby. and you're taking credibility away from Saengkham there, because if that's how he feels, well, I'm sorry, that's not good enough. If one mistake is going to be absolutely making you cry about it for the whole tournament, for the whole match, for the whole final, then it's not really how things work. One mistake like that can change it, but once again, it clearly wasn't clear and obvious for you to overturn it. And Selby there is going to have a break of 69 points, which seemingly is going to be good enough for him. Let's see if Saengkham is going to come back towards the table. He will. So then 70 points is the lead. And Nepal now just having a look to see if he can actually get through towards that red over the left corner. Or is he going to have to go for the red in towards the left middle, where if he goes for that one, he's going to have to lose out on some more points, which he can't really afford to. Right now, it's 3 snookers needed, but he needs to plot those 4 reds with a black. So let's see where he's going to find himself at. And I don't think he'll find himself anywhere near a colour, apart from it being the pink, maybe. Everyone said it moved in the comments, so it moved. I watched it, and sure it did, so Selby was wrong there. I expected better from him. Okay, as I said, not going to argue, because I have actually seen that people have said that he has moved, but it's not going to influence my opinion at that stage, because, you know, if everybody tells you that something has happened and then you believe it's happened without actually, you know, trusting what you see, then it's not really what it's about, is it? But there's still going to be a chance here for Nepal, because if he does get 12 points behind right now, he is, with that total clearance, so he's going to have to try and get a free ball with those reds. I just watched the replay, and I didn't see the white touch the blue. There you go. So it doesn't seem to be that clear and obvious, does it? The only player with 100% honesty for me is Murphy. Robbo is also very honest. I don't really understand that point at all. I think they're all pretty honest. I think O'Sullivan is honest. I mean, let's start from the beginning. I mean, when have Trump felt like he didn't really come across as an honest person? Selby, Robertson, I mean, Zhao and Wu probably a little bit too young, but I don't think they would be dishonest either. I think they need to see them a little bit more. Higgins, Williams, you know, all of them, I suppose. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one. I suppose they're all have integrity there, but it's just, you know, some of them will have a little bit more, some of them will have a little bit less. Now then, this is the shot for Nepal, which clearly is going to be putting all of his chances down, not just in relation to the frame, but also potentially to the match. And with him being 3 snookers down, it could also be a very important point in this match as well. And it's a great shot that he's played. Now, it's very important for Selby to try and get the contact on the red in, because now 23 points from Saengkham, and a free ball here would potentially allow him to go for a total clearance and try and force a respot. Ronnie would not have done that to the boy. Wafai was decried as nah, absolutely. I mean, as I say, Hossein is one of those characters which has had plenty of bad stains on his reputation there. So, you know, the fact that he was calling out Ronnie, the fact that he was, you know, doing that thing with the referee when the ball was not inside the D, same as you. There you go. At least there's 3 of us here. Which, as I say, I mean, you can always say, just because people tell you that he has moved, but from what I've seen, I looked at it like 100 times, and I felt like I was actually making myself to feel that he has moved when he hasn't. So then, from one red onto another, it is now going to be a chance for Nepal. Even though there won't be a free ball, he's still got an opportunity to try and get the cue ball to be lined up in behind the green this time around. And we'll see what's going to happen at that stage onwards. For now, he still needs 2 snookers to try and find. And it does seem like he's got the first one very much close to him. Played that shot really well. And of course, getting the red back towards the black zone would mean that if Selby was to miss this attempt as well, he could try and repeat this sequence for a while until he actually gets the points that he needs. But of course, you need to be positioned very specifically to the left or the right of the red. But yeah, I think he's managed to cover up the right side and the left side of the table pretty well. So we'll see what's going to happen. As I say, would need another foul shot no matter what happens. But at the same time, would probably get himself an opportunity here. And Selby there just asking for the cue ball to flick on the red. And in the end, this time around, he will actually get the snooker back on Saengkham as well. So it's a good hit there by Selby. He needed to hit that one in. And still seems to be having a bit of a smile on his face as well. Now let's see what's Napon's going to be having in response. Angles is very sharp-eyed in these. He said that he moved, wavered to the right. Neil's eyes are not the best, but he felt like it moved. Well, I did say my eyes are not the best at all, and that's unfortunately a fact. So that's why I never take full-on responsibility when it comes to those type of shots. I don't think I'll be able to be a referee. Simply, tried glasses beforehand. Not wearing them now, but never had a perfect sight because I've got one very weak eye and I've got one very strong eye, and in comparison, in combination with both of them, they do make a decent combination, but not the best. But as I said, even if that was a mistake, I don't think one mistake should very much compromise you for the next 5 frames, and for now, it's exactly what happened there, as Mark Selby is going to be able to take that red away, and now put all the questions to bed, whether he's going to be the man leading before the intermission. As now the question is the scoreline going to be 7 frames to 4 or 7 frames to 5 or 8 frames to 4? Because if the latter is the reality, we could be looking at just a couple of more frames before the match is going to be over. And for now, Selby certainly managed to stay up, and Selby is happy with the snooker fight. Exactly. Well, the thing about it is that he's not going to be very much looking disappointed with him to be winning 5 frames in a row right now. And played really, really, really well on some of those occasions. Played, some really good shots and allowed his opponent to be getting some of his chances as well, which probably was a bit of an issue. But in the end, he was able to win each of those frames, starting from frame number 6, which seemed like he was going to find himself in the world of trouble. So certainly the momentum shifter, but at the end of it all, you also have to give him credit for some of the shots that he's played, as he's now about to finish with 33 points at the end, and he will be down to Mark Selby to have a total clearance of 33 points indeed, and now to have a 7 frames to 4 of a lead. Already took down the world number 1, the momentum is building. Well, maybe it was at the the first session. I don't think we've seen any momentum building there from Napon Saengkham, as he's now going to find himself to be on the back foot quite badly, as Mark Selby is now going to be only 3 frames away from glory, and now we are seeing a bit of a difference in the class, it would seem, because Mark Selby clearly playing the better of the two, but ultimately we're not seeing any response from Napon Saengkham, and he just leaves him very vulnerable when he comes down to everything that we've seen in the previous couple of frames. And you wouldn't put it past him so that Selby is actually going to have a chance of trying to take every and each of those frames away there, which of course would be an incredible 8 frame streak that he would have to go on to. But I think at the same time it would still be difficult for Napon to try and recover and win more than a single frame here, because the question is, of course, when is he going to be able to get this frame on the board? And even when that would have happened, I still think there is going to be an awful long way for him to try and make a game out of this. But he mustn't give up just yet. He's still got a chance, and he's going to have to try and make sure he will be finding himself in the opportunity. Selby enters the 1 million club too, or already a member. Well, it depends who you listen to. If you're going to be listening to the people that say he's already won, then he is, but not until he's managed to win the final. Now I just see on the board, there you go. But listen, one person could tell you that it is very much a done deal. The odds for him to be losing right now are going to be at 15-0, and 1.3 for him to be the winner. So it does seem like we're just seeing a little bit too much of class there from Mark Selby in the second session, which once again, and yet again, he has showcased in a match against Judd Trump at the Champion of Champions and at the deciding point of the UK Championship as well. Now he's about to find himself in a very similar position when he comes down to 7-4 of a lead after the first 11 frames. And now he's going to be the man leaving for a bit of a break and hopefully returning with a little bit of form to himself as well. So still only 25 balls that he's managed to pot in comparison to Napon Saengkham. And foul points, we've seen the first of those to be given away from Mark Selby. And it's now going to be still looking at a chance for Napon to try and get himself that 5th frame on the board, which it's been a while since he's had that chance. But ultimately, you feel, if he doesn't do it this time around, being 8-4 down is not really going to be a boost to his opportunities. Napon can only blame himself for the now 4-7 down. He was 4-2 and leading 57-0, but a bad try left to a red to be near the corner pocket. The rest is history. Exactly the point. Exactly the point that I was making. You can't blame it on down to a referee's mistake, apparently. And also you can't say that that mistake can very much influence you to lose 5 frames in a row. And we don't know how many more frames it's going to be. But it can only be 8 in a row, which is good news. But the bad news is there will still be more than enough for Selby to get himself a win in the China Open for the 4th time, get himself the 26th ranking title, and at the end, get the Saengkham to be still positive when it comes down to the overall picture, when it comes down to the people that he played and the results that he's had, and fight all the way to the championship and bring the title home. Let's see if he's going to be able to do that though, because for now, he still does find himself to be in a difficult position and looking to try and leave a red away to Mark Selby. And Selby's safety shots have certainly improved since the mid-session interval. And now once again playing a lovely little kissing behind the yellow. Run out a little bit of power there, but should still be able to play for the shot to try and get the red away and onto the right corner, getting the cue ball very much towards the free air that he deserves to, and then just trying to make sure that he would not have left any free of those reds to be available at the right part of the table. So still looking here with Napon to try and play the shot towards the right side rail. And if it's going to be down to top side included here, he might just try and drop that red on towards the next one. Make sure the cue ball is going to run out of pace as soon as it reaches those reds. And at the end, he's played a decent enough shot there, not to leave a chance to Selby, but you feel like it's just a matter of time until he's going to be able to, find himself an opportunity, because that's exactly the way that he's been getting those chances there, you have to say, in the previous couple of frames, because he either is going to play a long red, which you're going to get, and then try and find himself to be on the collar, or alternatively for him, he should have the opportunity of trying to take that cue ball away, play at a good safety, which would force the Saengkham to be making a mistake, and he's going to pick up the pieces from that point. Not his entire fault with a runaway red. I still think the blue incident played a big part for the mess he's in right now, but, well, he can't be the whole reason, is it? It can always be a partial problem with it, but at the same time, you can't really say that, one mistake from yourself or the referee, and I'm always going to be very adamant about it. He misses the blue first time, nobody asked him to miss it the second time, and the first miss didn't change anything when it comes down to the points. And I'm still going to be very much calling it a miss, because that's what I've seen. Now then, there's Selby a chance here to try and play the red away into the main bunch, and therefore just make sure that he will not meet any resistance in the way of the ball colours, as he's now able to take that shot away pretty nicely, and now position himself for a shot on the red to be taken in towards the left corner. So then, Napon of course has not really been going for those long reds, but when he has, it doesn't seem like he came away with too many positive results at that stage. So let's see if that's going to change, or is he going to just try and play a safety for now? Get those reds to be played towards the right corner and just get the cue ball to be bouncing around them here, which is what he's done. Just trying to carefully make one of those reds to go towards the right part of the table. Play that shot pretty well, as I say, but I think at the end of it, it's now going to be down to Mark Selby to have a better opportunity to go for a long red to the right corner. Do you think there is a technology that could detect the slightest of touches today? Should it be used like in other sports? It's a good point of the sauces, because, you've got the goal line technology in football, you've got the Hawkeye in tennis, but you don't really have a situation like that where, they don't really have the technology for that in tennis though, do they? Because they have to watch it manually to see if there was a double bounce or not. And, of course, in this case, it would be a single bounce to see if there was a contact. So it's difficult to say that, but I don't really think it's such a brilliant invention for you to try and put a sensor in every single one of those 15 reds, 6 colours and a cue ball for you to see if there was a contact to be made in between the two of them. But, I don't really think there weren't really many opportunities like that. As Selby, he's not going to help the case, is he? is exactly the same thing that's happened in the previous frame, when it was 6 frames to 4, and now it's 7 frames to 4. Once again, he catches the brown full ball, and once again, every single, apart from one of the reds, is going to be invisible to Nippon Saengkham here. So yeah, when the luck goes against you, it doesn't seem to turn without a reason. And Selby is certainly getting the run of the ball as it stands. Not justified because of how often would it be? Yes, that's exactly the thing that I'm talking about. How many situations like that have we seen where you genuinely haven't got, where you've got controversy out of nothing, and Saengkham there trying to take that red along the side cushion, but this time around he's not going to be able to pot the red, and he's going to leave that red away to the left corner of the table. Well, listen, it's not easy to coach and say what has to be done here, but he's clearly trying to go for something different. The problem is, something different here, he's not really going to get him anywhere. Ballistic could be used, as in tennis maybe. They already project view cones with snooker, so why not? Yeah, I suppose, but once again, as Gareth says, how justified would that be? And what is your reasoning going to be for that? Selby, they're unhappy with the way that he got on the other edge, trying to force that one out of the way so that he would have been nicely lined up for the black, but instead, he's now going to have to go for a safety shot, it would seem. When balls are hit simultaneously, it can also be that bad call, exactly. Can put miniature chip inside ball to detect movements, but yeah, I mean, once again, you are trying to go for a situation which I think you might as well be better to accept there is going to be a situation like that, because, I mean, once again, how many times in 1,000 is there going to be? Or, alternatively, my reason for it is going to be, is Selby trying to play for the black there? Not really. I mean, he certainly powered that one home, but it was just down to the cue ball to be forced towards the top part of the table. I don't think he was trying to keep the black safe, which he sort of didn't at the end of it, but I also think he's left the red available there for Nippon Saengkham, so not the best shot from Selby, but, I mean, how much of a trustworthy technology would that be then? Because how about if there was a very little margin between the touch of a red and a pink, for example, and then technology tells you the wrong thing? So I just don't think you should be messing around with that stuff, at this stage at least. You know, as Saengkham there goes for the red, he makes that one in nicely into the corner, but yeah, he's not going to have anything available to him, and he's going to have to play this one safe. So once again, disappointed, but that's the way it's been for him so far in the second session. He's not going to be able to get through to the pink or the blue, and any one of the colours really, apart from maybe the black that he's going to be able to see. So he's going to have to try and find one of those 4 colours, I would say, to choose from. Probably 3, and probably 1 actually, because you can narrow it down. Clearly not going to go for the black or the pink because of their situation at the table. I think going for the blue is a little bit too risky, so I think you should be calling green or brown, because the yellow is going to be, well, the yellow could also be caught, but I don't think he's going to go for that because of a red into the right corner available to him. No rest yet, the time hasn't come. Stay calm, don't jump to conclusions. Thank you again, Letitia. Yeah, well, I think the time has come to go out with a performance, but it just doesn't seem like the performance and the game is there with him. But I think he is going to be reasonable enough not to blame it down to that blue in the 7th frame, to say that it's very much cost him the match. Because I don't think anybody would take, well, I don't think many people will take him seriously after that comment, because, you know, it's probably understandable when fans of that player will be saying it, but when you think about it in perspective, the whole, you know, thing about having a tournament which you would have played, I don't know, something like 100 frames already, would have won more than half of them, now to come down to one decision, which wasn't even as controversial as some people think to me, you can't really blame that on that particular blue. But yeah, let's just try and move on from that, because we've got plenty more things going on, and Selby is still looking at a potential chance of going for this red into the right corner. It's going to be really interesting to see the way that he approaches this one, because I thought for a second he's going to try and play it safe. He won't. This is an attacking shot into the corner. He's going to miss that one though. And let's see where the cue ball's going to finish. Let's see where the reds are going to finish as well. The red that he played is going to finish right underneath the blue. And therefore, I think he's actually got away with it in relation to the reds available. So we'll see what's going to happen here then. Hello everyone, hello, hello. And we've got a chance here to be seeing a red in towards the left part of the table here, because Saengkham is not necessarily going to find himself in a great position to try and find a plant available towards the left part of the table, because if he gets himself close enough to those reds, he might find himself to be a little bit far down the cushion, and therefore, of course, could find himself to be catching the wrong jaw of the middle. So he's going to try and very much make sure the contact to the side cushion is going to be made as soon as possible. And the best way for him to do that, clearly, is going to be through their second closest red towards the side rail on the right-hand side. It was a very tight line, and he just about managed to make that one work as soon as the cue ball doesn't drop into the pocket, which, with his luck so far, is absolutely was always going to drop, and it did. So no surprise there. And now there will be yet another foul shot and 4 more foul points to be given away towards Mark Selby. So we'll see what's going to happen, and is there going to be an opportunity to try and go for the reds into the right part of the table. He might try and go for that a little bit later on, to be fair, because he might see, you know, there's not really going to be an option for him to try and go for the red towards the right middle. But yeah, he's still thinking about a long red, which with the ball in hand, he can sort of try, and it's exactly what he's thinking about. He can try and position the cue ball into a very specific slot on the table where he's going to find himself to be not giving away a massive chunk of opportunities away to Nippon Saengkham in case he's unable to try and make himself to go out here. Selby looks good. Let the kid get a taste of being a champion, Mark. It serves as the motivation for him. Well, I'll tell you what, he's certainly given him a chance there. He missed a long red by a long margin. The question is, he was playing for a very specific zone for a reason. Let's see if he's left anything available now for Nippon Saengkham. And if he has, is Nippon going to be able to finally try and put that pattern of bad sequence of frames behind him here? Good turn. Thank you very much, Letitia, again. So we'll see to have a look on what's going to happen with the reds. Probably the one closest to the blue. I think is going to be the best opportunity there for Nippon to try and go for into the left corner, because yes, I know he's going to be clashing with the blue, and he's going to be playing the shot with topspin, which doesn't really help. He got the red in, but where's the cue ball going to be? He is going to be on the green, it would seem, but how straight is he going to be on that collar? And how far down the table is he going to try and position himself to be lines up on the red? So it doesn't seem like he's going to be full of hope from the body language, but well, he can't really go for the Mark Selby type of a shot, rolling the cue ball in behind the yellow, because it's not really going to give a lot to him here, based on the position and the way the reds are surrounded. But he's going to still try and do that, as he's going to go and roll the cue ball in behind the green. So I think it was a decent shot that he played, and now Selby's going to have to try and come back from his own point of view. The kid is 34 years. No. Letitia was just translating there, and it does actually amaze you, but it's still quite young there in relation to what he looks like. But I mean, yeah, you shouldn't really compare him as a child in comparison to Mark Selby. But yeah, I mean, there will be an opportunity for Saengkham to try and do it later on, but he needs to be playing better than that, let's be sure, than what he's done in frames of 7 until 11.5, I would say. And actually, he wasn't actually able to get the snooker lined up anyway on Mark Selby, although Mark seemed to have got way too much pace on the cue ball, and he would have left the red available towards the right middle. So something that he says certainly, you know, Saengkham was trying to achieve from the green. He realised he wasn't going to be able to do that, and he will be down to a chance of playing the red in towards the right middle. But yeah, still a chance of the red to be played with topspin, but I mean, easier said than done there. To try and miss the blue and the black is going to be very much the target. Wasn't able to do that, and he's now going to be, once again, getting yet another red without a colour with it as well. Because, yeah, the position of the colours doesn't really seem like it's about to improve anytime soon, because he's just put the black out of position. The blue is not going to be any great situation either, and the pink is compromised by a couple of the other reds as well. So we're still looking at the top side of the table to be very much there to explore from the Saengkham's point of view. I'm not responding. Yeah, as I say, Letitia, you're very much appreciative in that one, and that was the message, which there was a hashtag to the person that has actually said it. And yeah, the pawn there just having to play a shot which will get the green away from the bulk and make sure the cue ball is going to stay exactly where he was out there as well. So we'll see what's going to happen. But for now, there will be an opportunity for Selby to try and exploit the red onto the right side of the table, which probably would be down to the reds closer to the left side cushion. Just try and play them in towards the middle. Of course, if you're going to keep on doing that, you may as well try and bring the pink into the open play, which is what Selby has done. But doing that from that angle was always going to be difficult to try and get the pink away from those reds. But Selby's done that well without compromising himself on towards the cue ball. And now being 2 points ahead, with still 11 reds at the table, there is going to be an opportunity for the pawn now to play the reds from the left side cushion towards the center of the table. Just very carefully taking that shot away. Make sure you're not going to hit that one too thick, because that could put a red easily over the corner. And once again there, just showing the safety is still there with him, but scoring not necessarily much. When you look back on the previous 3 frames at this session number 2, when you compare to Selby's younger, yeah, I agree, but he's still not the oldest out there, Selby, and Saengkham is not the youngest. Therefore, I think it's something in between. So there's still going to be plenty more room here for some good safeties to be played. Selby there, clearly trying to exploit, but I think he's left a bit of a free safety to the pawn now, having to play a red along the side cushion, which I don't think he should be taking that one on seriously in towards the corner pocket. Do you think Mark could hold this form in 2026? Robertson has been disappointing, giving us that very disappointing. What is your view of the form in this competition? Do you have a prediction for the stand-up this season? Plenty of questions. Let's start from the beginning. But let's just wait to see what's going to happen with this red. Because for me, he doesn't really want to be attacking this one too much. Watch him pot it now. Ooh, that was close, but not good enough. Once again, these pockets are tight. They're pretty generous, but not that generous. So then, Selby's just going to have to play a safety shot, it would seem. So, do you think Mark could hold his form in 2026? Well, it's an interesting question straight away, because can he? Yes. Will he? Don't know. Because when you think about Mark, he comes away in a little bit of a, he's got a really good spell for a short period of time, and then he sort of disappears, which was exactly what happened in last season. I mean, apart from Champion of Champions, UK, Triple Crown winner, brilliant, but you can throw English Open semi-final in there, but I think that's about as much as he's done in the whole season, to be frank. So I don't really think so. And therefore, I just think, you can't really predict it. A thing like that with Selby, but I think he's been playing really, really well. I think he's playing better in this tournament than he has played in the UK and in the Champion of Champions, and I just think there is going to be plenty more things for him to try and explore. So I would say, if I was to say yes or no, I would say he would win another tournament. So therefore, I think he would be able to hold his form to a decent extent, but I would expect a little bit of a drop-off in Wuhan and potentially British Open as well, because I think it's very tough, as Trump would have showcased, to try and hold on to any sort of form that he would have had just because he won the previous tournament. So then Robertson has been very, very disappointing for me. I can't believe he's the world number 2. He doesn't play well for 2 or 3 matches in a row. He had a really good tournament in Saudi. He hasn't done anything since that for me. It's been to a couple of semis, but when it comes down, his game can be all right Selby. He's going to be playing a bit of a charity work, but I don't think he's going to be coming back to the table here. I think the pawn is going to look at the red to the left corner, and I think he'll take it on. Yes, he could say there is going to be a bit of a thinking process to be done there, with the cue ball to be getting past the reds, but, well, Selby there, not sure if he was surprised or not, but he's going to get the cue ball to be back where he was. There's the referee there just checking with the marker to see the exact position of the cue ball. Selby there, only the second time he's made a foul shot in this match. And yeah, I think of the form in this competition, Listen, it's one of those things out there, and I think you have to blame pockets for it. Because when you think about the way the likes of Yao Pincheng, David Gilbert, let's try and throw a couple of more names in there. Robertson to an extent, but I think he played pretty well in the first couple of rounds. Saengkham, haven't really been that many names. There's just been a lot of them actually making it quite far. Bingham probably not so much. I think he's actually played well. Zhang, I think they exploited their positional play not being good enough, which always helps when you've got larger pockets, as Selby there catches the red second time, has played a really good safety shot, and he's now going to be able to return the favour and make it a very difficult safety for Naphon Saengkham now to try and play. Although he might have just freed himself up with the red next to the black ball spot there to be taken, but he's certainly going to need plenty of side spin on that, because he needs to make sure he gets past the blue. So I think when we get to Wuhan Open, hopefully the pockets are going to be a little bit tighter, which I think they were last season. I don't think we had the same issue as we've got here or in Shanghai. And I think that will boost the standard up, and I think that will get the big names to be very much playing well, because you can't put it just down to that. But I think we would have seen a lot more top 16 players to be progressing through. I mean, you think about that performance of Liu Hongyu against Barry. You think about, I don't know, Higgins against Bingham probably was a bad example. Williams against Joey Long was a deserved win. But Gilbert against Weezer and Ding Junhui there, you just feel like that could have been a bit of a different story had the pockets been tighter, had the standard of play been a little bit better. Because I can remember Gilbert getting away with a couple of those shots, and you know, the top 16 are going to be trying to build their game very much around playing the positional shots super well, as Selby there just seems like he's struggling a touch there with his own safeties, but once again, it just doesn't seem like he's left anything easy available to Naphon Saengkham, as we now approaching the 2-hour mark for the 4th frame, which is a little bit surprising, but as I say, the sting has been taken away from the match. The scoring has been very poor from Naphon, and not brilliant from Selby. And as I say, it suits Mark to try and make it a bit of a slower match for him at the end, which is why we are now sitting at 5 points to play 7 in the frame number 12. So then, younger in age and wins, so I think that the comment was about using the kit. Yeah, absolutely. So do you have a prediction for a stand-up this season? Oh, that's a good question. Who do I think will be a stand-up this season? Not Stan Moody. I don't jump on that hype train at all. I'm going to go for someone which hopefully is going to be top 16, outside of the top 16. As Selby there, once again looking for the back of that green. He's not going to be able to find it this time, but he played a decent enough shot to impact the position of Naphon. It's too hot where I live. My connection is very bad. Where, I mean, the heat wave's sort of gone away from the UK, and hopefully long may stay. I don't really remember having a 36 degrees days, but it was a couple of days ago, so it was fun. It wasn't. But right now it's a little bit better. And Naphon there responding with a good safety of his own. But the problem is we're not really getting anywhere with that, because you've got around 6 reds to be on the black ball cushion. You've got 3 more reds surrounded by the black itself. And well, we'll see what's going to happen here then, because Selby's clearly going to fancy his chances. But I'm still thinking about the stand-up, because I don't want to go for someone, unrealistic, but I also don't want to go for someone like Trump, which actually is a really good shout there, I think Trump could be the standout this season, and I mean that. I would say for someone like, I'm thinking between Murphy, Joey Long, Trump, and that's it pretty much. Because I think the rest are just, I don't really fancy any other of them. I think with Wilson, if you asked me straight after Shanghai Masters, I would have said Wilson is going to have a great season. But after what he's done and the performances that he's been putting in late last season and, in the tournament of China Open as well, I just think he's been very poor. Selby is a good shout, actually. Who says that he's not going to be the standout for the season. The cue ball is going to be a little bit of standout to the green pocket, but he's going to slow down just about in time for Saengkham to call this a great safety. I thought Joe O'Connor was showing promise, but he has disappointed lately. I think he's just been a little bit quiet. how we got 42 degrees here in Melbourne. Well, there you go. And that's just from the morning, 5 o'clock as well, I would have thought. Which is a little bit weird, but I suppose you do have the desert, which would be influencing the temperature. I'll tell you what, something that would be influencing the temperature of the Pont Saengkham is going to be a great safety shot there from Mark Selby. And I do wonder when we are going to reach the temperature of the boiling point from the Pont Saengkham, because we must be close to it. Because whatever he's going to be on the outside, in the inside, surely he must be getting fed up with it now. Because he's trying to hang in there. And every single time, as I say, it's now Selby that finds himself to be just one step ahead of him every single time any one of those shots is played. We had the same here in the south of France too, only 36 last week. But yeah, I mean, O'Connor has had a final, I think, in the World Open against... I can't remember who it was against. Against John Higgins, might have been. I can't remember. But... yeah, I don't really think we've seen a lot of him. I think he's had a Championship League campaign a couple of seasons ago where he played quite well. But yeah, it's been relatively quiet last season. He's managed to, well, really, I mean, he's lost to Ronnie O'Sullivan by 5-0. And I think he lost to him again in the World Grand Prix there after the loss in Saudi. I think he lost to him in the World Grand Prix again in Hong Kong. But yeah, I think he's been relatively quiet there and still stuck at outside of the top 32. Selby now getting an opportunity to try and go for the red in towards the left corner. Let's see if he's going to try and make that red to disappear. Play the cue ball to the top part of the table and therefore just allow himself to be playing a shot which would hopefully for him put that cue ball away and into the safe place where he can try and take the colour away as well, which he has been able to do. So now a massive shot on the green or a shot on the yellow, whatever he tries to, you know, output here, but he's not going to have plenty of room there when he comes down to those available reds, which he's not going to have plenty of either at the lower end of the table. So he's just going to have to try and make his way with a shot on the green in towards his own pocket, play the shot with a little bit of topspin, and just make sure you'll find the cue ball to be comfortably beyond the black ball spot and onto the left side cushion. But there's a mistake from Selby. Is that going to compromise him on the reds towards the left part of the table? Saengkham is now going to have a look at the right part of the table, but I think that's not really the way what you're going to be looking at. I think there will be a chance of a red to be taken into the left corner here. Joe lost to Chang Min-yu in the Wuhan qualifications. There we go, so we won't see any of him in Wuhan Open either. But it just seems like he's had a very quiet campaign recently, as the Pont Saengkham does indeed get that red into the left corner. Still positions himself nicely for the pink to be taken in towards the left part of the table. So 75% of you actually think that the blue has moved, which is surprising to me. But fair enough. At least they've got 25% of people that think that I'm not the only one that is insane. And yeah, I mean, Napon is now going to have to play one of the two shots. He's either, which I think is the option that he'll go for, going to try and play the cue ball into a very narrow gap alongside the black ball spot where he's going to have a chance of getting one of the lower reds away into the right corner. But I think he played that shot very, well, I mean, very passively there, you have to say. And I think he may have an opportunity of not seeing that red entirely, which of course would free up another red for him, which he needs to try and get himself frame number 5 on the board, a little bit closer. And where the temperature never reaches 40, well, there you go. That's very interesting indeed. But he can get through to that red, so now just trying to get himself positioned for the pink. Any points that he's going to be able to score here, as we've seen with 37, is not necessarily going to guarantee him the frame win, but at the same time, he would put him to be in the window of trying to be more of a challenge when he comes down to Mark Selby here. And as he's looking to try and take the pink away, still looking to try and play for that red in towards the right corner. And yeah, certainly getting himself 21 points to 6 of an advantage, so 15 points of a lead. 91 still at the table there, which just shows how slowly this frame has been progressing, but still an opportunity to get at least one more red away with the pink, which would hopefully put him around 20 points clear or so. And then he can try and make it a bit more of a game changer for him if he does get any one of those two reds next to the black to be available and closer towards the right corner. Or alternatively, he can try and play the shot into those reds into the left corner. Well, he's done that, but at the end, he's also compromised himself on the positional shot on the pink. So now, that will give him two more reds, but only in the case of him potting the pink away and into the left corner, which at this stage is not going to be an easy thing for him to try and achieve there. So we'll see what's actually going to happen. Melbourne is in full winter for now. That's a good option right now. Well, you would think so. But a chance here on the pink to be taken. Once again, needs to be playing it with a little bit of left-hand side there, just to get it past the point of where he will be actually able to see the red, which I'm not sure he's managed to pass. I think it is touch and go, but he might have just about seen enough of that red to try and take it away and into the right corner, which is now going to be positioning the red to the right part of the table. Make sure he's got a chance of keeping that cube on towards the pink, which I don't think he's done again. So he's now going to have to look for a shot on the yellow as the only one, which will keep him at the break. But I think a lot more realistically, he's going to have to look for a safety shot to be played, as he's now down to 6 reds here. And still 23 points being the advantage for Napan Saengkham in this frame number 12. So can he just about find himself to be playing the pink? He can, but only from a safety point of view, as he's now trying to get the cube somewhat close towards the yellow and play that shot pretty well, you have to say, because covered up every single one of those reds but one. The one that probably Selby is going to be looking at a lot more. Frame time already going past the half an hour mark. And still looking to try and take the red away towards the left side rail. Plenty of power behind that shot needed, but I think he also needs to be very precise with his angle, because I think the cue ball, he's going to have to dive underneath the red, wait for the red to get past him, and only then he's going to be able to get himself away. And in the end, Selby was unable to avoid the contact on the pink, which sort of put the red into available space there. But I think you have to ask the question of, if you go for this red, where are you going to expect to find a colour from? Let's see if that's going to be the question that Napan is going to be thinking about too much. Or is he going to be down to a chance for the red to be taken away and into the left corner? Plenty of chances here for him to try and exploit that advantage, but not on this occasion, as he's now about to find the cue ball with the red and put that red over the corner pocket there. So after all the touches in the world, Napan is going to have to go back to his seat, and Selby will have an opportunity of trying to get a bit of a dent in that gap, which already doesn't seem like it's going to be that massive anyway. 23 points of a lead, and Napan trying to keep a smile on his face, but I don't think he's going to have loads of positive emotions to be experiencing after what happened in those 4 frames. As Selby there, just looking to try and be in contention. Whether he's going to be able to win the frame in the current visit to the table is probably unlikely thing to happen, but at the same time, is there going to be move for a shot on the pink to be taken here into the left corner? Make sure that the cue ball will position himself on the left-hand side of those reds. Carefully try and take one of those away into the right corner. Has Napan's average shot time changed, slowed? I think he has, but I think it's down to the position. I think the average shot time of Selby would have slowed down a lot massively, but I think it's... listen, it's a couple of factors there, and I think the most important ones are the position right now is entering its horrible mode every single frame there, because, you know, the reason why that wasn't the case earlier is that Selby wasn't necessarily forcing that to be the case, because he's seen what Napan is capable of, and also he felt like he was actually in a position where he was able to score some big points as well. But that has changed in the second session. Now, what we're seeing is Selby at the start of the frame waits for a couple of shots, which, you know, he's going to have to, until he makes that position to go from alright to bad, from bad to very bad. And when I say bad, it's not really the one which wins you the frame, which is always going to slow the game down, slow the momentum down, and kill the rhythm if one of the players would have it. So therefore, the average shot time would have slowed down for both of them. But, of course, the reason for that is Napan not playing well at all, and also Selby trying to make the game to go a little bit slower so that he's got more opportunities to try and put Saengkham on the back foot even more. So now then, 29 plays 29. As the pawn is now going to have his gap to be cut out, and a very important shot coming up here for Selby. Could be the frame winner. I don't think you would need the brown, which is the only colour which is severely out of position. I think Selby on the run for the black here slightly, and it'll be difficult for him to try and find the angle to force those reds. I mean, he's going to have a look at the plant into the right corner, but I can't really see him taking a shot like that on, you have to say, because he would inevitably put one of those reds to be very close towards the pocket, or at least give a chance of that happening. So you never know, but I don't think that's the type of a shot that Selby will play, although at 7-4, maybe something that he can afford to be doing. And still looking to try and take the black away in towards the left part of the table, and then we'll be able to see what's actually going to happen with in relation to the reds to be taken along the cushion here. Now then, Selby is going to have another check to see what's going to be happening with them, but it does seem like they are lined up perfectly well. And let's have a look. The voice is not coming on clearly. It seems to be to me. Just checked on it. Maybe just the specifics of the voice, but seems to be coming clearer and not me. Anyway, something that is going to be very clear out there is the plant that Mark Selby has managed to exploit into the right corner. And now he's got a brilliant opportunity to try and finally kill yet another frame away. And it should be good enough for that red to be taken along the blackball cushion. So 16 points right now is going to be the advantage for Mark. And, well, that red certainly was the first part of him getting over the finish line. But let's see what's going to happen with the red to be taken into the right corner. Whether he's got the chance of trying to make both of those reds in, it'll be a great addition to him. But he needs to make sure that red is not going to come away from the cushion at all. He didn't at any point of that shot. And it's now going to be down to black, which once again just needs to get into the yellow. And that will be the final destination, because he's now 15 points clear. So the yellow and green, which are both going to be available, will take Mark Selby into that desired gap of 8 frames to 4, which at this stage surely is not going to be able to overcome. So 24 points now. He's going to be the lead, and he's got the opportunity of trying to play that yellow in towards its own pocket. Whether he's going to be able to try and play for the green there, I'm not sure, but he might just be able to try and stun it into the green and then leave the brown to be over the pocket as well. So we'll see what's going to happen. But at this stage, I think he will be down to a chance on just dropping that yellow past the brown in relation to the cue ball. And then he should just have a straightforward finish line when he comes down to getting himself over and done with. So we'll see what's going to happen. But for now, ahead by 24 points. Still looking to try and get that red in. Mark was losing 2 frames to 4 and leading 8 frames to 4 would hurt Napont really bad. Agree, but that's just been the way that this frame has slept away there from Napont Saengkham, and ultimately he's just going to find himself in a position of a little bit of a struggle as he now gets the green away, and he's certainly going to be 29 points down here with only 22 at the table. So let's see what's going to happen here. Is he going to just try and take the brown away and make sure he doesn't leave an easy invitation away to Napont Saengkham? And that's what he's tried. So Napont is probably still likely to come back and try and give it a go there, but not necessarily if the brown is going to be in a position which is going to be out of reach for him. So we'll see if that's certainly going to be the case. But for now, he still finds himself to be in that window of not really having a lot of control there, it would seem. Saengkham is looking to try and make contact with the brown and just very carefully brush it towards the right-hand side of the table. That should be enough there to force Napont Saengkham out of his misery, and that will be an intermission as a foul has been made there from Napont Saengkham. He will be down to 6 frames in a row that Mark Selby has managed to win, and now will be down to just 2 more that he needs to try and become the China Open champion for the 4th time, beating Mark Williams as the most successful player in the China Open history. As now both of the players are going to go for the intermission and have a little bit of a break. It is of course Napont Saengkham that needs that break a lot more, and the smile that we've seen for that handshake with the trophy in the first frame seemed to have disappeared a long time ago. And now we are going to see a very different Mark Selby in the second session, where it clearly was all down to getting himself over that finish line. And so far, he's managed to play really, really well. So we'll see what's going to happen. But at the same time, it'll be very interesting to see what the response of Naporn Saengkham is going to be. For now, thank you very much, and stay tuned in for 15 minutes time of the intermission. We'll be back after the break to see who's going to be the title winner, and is Naporn Saengkham got something more that he takes to try and challenge Mark Selby and make more of a competitive match out of this. Stay tuned in, as I say, in 15 minutes time, we'll be back with the play to resume. Right then, so what do we all think about it? What is going to happen at the start of the 13th frame? Is he going to be down to a chance for Mark Selby to try and kill it off, and he'll do that on the first time of asking? Or is there going to be more from Mark Selby? Because is it going to be down to Naporn Saengkham to try and give a little bit more from his own point of view as well? Or is he going to be down to, you know, just a very straightforward finish, and in the end it will be down to 8 frames in a row from Selby having to be won? Because at this stage you feel there won't really be down to a comeback to be possible for now. What is going to have to be possible for Saengkham is a little bit of a fight back late on in the match, because at this stage he probably does need to try and win a couple of frames in a row for him to try and be put back in contention there. But when I say a couple, for every single 3 frames that he wins, if Selby responds with 1, he's still going to be able to make it to a decider. So, and you can't really see Naporn right now winning 6 frames in the next 7, which is now basically the mission. And yeah, I think it's the question of how many more frames Saengkham is going to be able to take in total, because I think from what we've seen, there's going to be very little margin for error, and also there haven't really been any positive signs there from Naporn in the evening session out there. Selby the winner China Open 2026, well, it could well happen, because, you know, who's going to stop him from doing that? Because if you feel that's going to be down to an opportunity for Selby to try and get himself into that position, well, I think that door was left wide open for Mark Selby to do that, because of Naporn Saengkham just not really playing too well. I think he's left himself to be vulnerable for too many of those occasions. I think he left himself in that position where he wasn't able to score big, he wasn't able to score some really good points, and he wasn't able to take those chances away at the same time. So I think that's probably the biggest issue, and I think from Selby's point of view, he can be really happy with his own performance. I think for the first 2 frames, he was struggling big time. I think the intermission came at a good time in the first session for him, and it didn't really help him because he was still very much second best player of the 2. Lost the next 2 frames, and you felt like the momentum was going to be swinging, and maybe Selby was the one that was going to struggle. But that deciding frame, the frame number 7, for so many reasons, for that controversy on the blue, for the comeback from being 57 down to 0, the final miss on the black as well from the pawn, it all sort of accumulated and, turned out to be very costly for him. And he hasn't been able to recover and be the former player that he was, of course, before that point, ever since that black has missed the target of the pocket, and then Selby was able to put that one away. Very much in the next frame, the pawn still had a good chance to try and come back stronger. He wasn't able to do that, and just unable to do anything more at that stage as well. So I think the scoreline, it will be down to an opportunity for a chance for Saengkham just to get himself a frame on the board. I feel like if he gets himself off that 4 into 5, it may change the situation a little bit. It may make life a little bit better for him as well, and just make it more enjoyable too, because at that stage, you're going to have to try and enjoy yourself in the final. He didn't really look like he was going to be thinking about that too much, because it seemed like he was going to be the man to try and make Selby to feel uncomfortable in a very common environment for him, but he switched up completely, and he has changed for Saengkham to be seeing very little light when it comes down to his chances of winning this particular final. But it's still going to be experience, and you still can't really take away everything that he's managed to achieve and everything that he's done so far in the tournament, beating Ronnie O'Sullivan, Judd Trump, beating Shaun Murphy and Joey Long to get to this stage has been very impressive. And at the end, it always seemed like Selby was going to be the toughest of them all to beat, because he plays the game a little bit differently. And, unlike, of course, Murphy, Trump and O'Sullivan, this match was going to be played based off 2 sessions, which I think for the top seed to be beaten is always a lot more difficult for that to be achieved in the final, for multiple reasons, but ultimately because they've been here before, they've done it before as well, and you are going to have to put it down to them to be very much the favourite from start towards the finish as well. So we'll see what's going to happen, but at the same time, I don't really think that was down to an opportunity to be available for it. But listen, it is still potential there to be a bit of a comeback, whether it's going to be a complete comeback to be made, but I still feel there is going to be very little that Saengkham can try and do in relation to winning the title, because I think it would put him to a position where, he's just going to have to do too many things perfectly well. And I think we haven't really seen that since the frame number 6, which is a problem, because once again, as I say, those 4 frames that the pawn has managed to win have all been frames of domination. And therefore, whenever Selby seems to get close to him and makes a bit of a game out of that match, he always seems like he gets blown away there. And Saengkham never seems to have the answer. So I think it will probably come down to 10-5, 10-6. I still think the pawn should have one more frame in him, and probably his best chance is going to be right after the intermission, because if he loses another frame there, allows Selby to be 1 frame away from winning the final. I think there's going to be very little reason and very little motivation there for Saengkham to try and keep himself to be in that shape of, I can still win this one. But, when your opponent is still going to be 2 frames away, there's always going to be something that you feel like you can do, even though it may be completely out of the question, because I think if Selby plays pretty ordinary, he's still going to be able to take and wrap this match away very comfortably indeed. It will likely be a tough fight for Mu, but he should give it his absolute all to make the scoreline look a bit more respectable, which is probably fair. I think the scoreline doesn't represent the whole story, but once again, I think the scoreline doesn't represent the whole story because we're not seeing enough of Saengkham, and we're not seeing enough of him when it comes down to wins in those closely contested frames. As I said, the 4 frames that he's managed to win were the frames that he's had big breaks at, because if you have a look at it on the frame breakdown, and you have a look at how well Selby was playing there. But 67-8, 73-0, 80-0 with a break of 80 points, 75-5 were the breaks that the Saengkham has managed to make. And they all came very much close to each other. But, you know, in comparison to that, you've got incredible consistency from Mark Selby with the breaks of 53, 58, 90, 69 and 52. So he's only not made a break of 50 plus once in the last 6 frames, which was in frame number 8, which is still was able to win pretty comfortably indeed. So you could see the average break being 53.2 there for Mark Selby, 38.2 for Saengkham. But I think ultimately it just seems like it's not really going to be the point where you are going to see enough. And I think at the same time, you're just going to struggle to see a response which will be good enough to try and stop Selby from winning more frames. But ultimately now, of course, you have to put it into perspective. He's going to have to win 6 out of the remaining 7 frames against one of the most consistent and one of the best players when it comes down to the history of snooker. So I think Saengkham should probably get a couple of more frames in himself, but whether that's going to be the case or not, we're going to have to wait and see. I still think there is plenty more work for him to be done in relation to being just about as good. Because I think even though he's had his good moments, he's had his good spells, I think his positional play has been consistently bad. I think he hasn't been good enough when it comes down to his short selections. And he wasn't really getting away with those either. So I think he's going to have to try and develop on those 2 points in hindsight to this tournament. But for now, he just needs to try and get himself more chances there. I think he needs to be a little bit more aggressive and a little bit more on the front foot when he comes down to the beginning of the frame, because what Selby's doing really well is that he's just making that match to go in the direction where he wants and being the driver of the ship, if you want to say, because he wants that game to be as about as awkward for Saengkham as he can make it, because he knows if he makes that game to be awkward, Saengkham is going to have very little chance and very little room for the game to be changed into a positive manner for him. So we'll see what's going to happen, but at the same time, I think he will be down to something which is not easy for him to achieve, which, you know, you're going to have to try and put it down to the test. But I still think that Selby wins this match very comfortably indeed. And if he wins the 13th frame, I think he wins it 10-4. If he loses the next frame, I think he might win 10-5 or 10-6. But I don't think the overarching factor is going to change. I think Selby has managed to turn up with a very clear-cut plan ahead of him. And I think Napon was probably hoping to try and continue to keep on doing what he was doing in the previous 8 frames. But as we clearly have seen in frames 9 to 12, he hasn't worked out. And yeah, he's going to have to come away with a fairly big price for that when it comes down to a chance not being available to him. So we'll see what's going to happen. But at the same time, it will now be down to an opportunity away. And I've just realised I haven't really awarded the frames to Selby, have I? It's still going to be showing as 7-4 of a scoreline, which is quite funny. But yeah, he has lost that frame upon, and it's now going to be down to 8 frames to 4, which is the advantage for Mark Selby. As yeah, indeed. There we go. So it's now frame 1 for Mark Selby, and it is 8 frames to 4 that he leads of Saengkham. And listen, even though Napon is still going to be capable of trying to win 3 frames, then lose 1, and then find himself to be in that position of a window still being open for him to try and win 3 more frames in a row. Remember, it was never easy for someone like Chipchaya to win that World Open final against Ronnie O'Sullivan, but he's had really good spells, which Saengkham hasn't really shown off. And also, I think overarching consistency of Mark Selby when it comes down to the course of those 12 frames have been a lot better than anything that we've seen from Ronnie O'Sullivan's point of view. And at the end, it will now come down to Selby to be the player to get us back underway with his own break-off shot. As we now, the intermission is going to be over, and the break-off there from Selby is about to be made to get 13 frame underway. The referee's happy for Mark to execute the break-off shot. Let's see if he's going to be able to execute the perfect 8 frame win streak as well, as he now finds himself to be overturning the deficit of 4 frames to 2 and now leading by 8 frames to 4 as well. It is Mark Selby's turn to try and break the reds away from each other, and hopefully for him as well to get that cue ball into a safe enough position, which wouldn't see any easy chances away to be given to Napan Saengkham, which is something that he's capable of. But as we've seen beforehand, sometimes one raid is all it takes for you to try and turn the momentum away. Whether it's going to be enough to try and turn the 4-frame difference away, we'll see. But for now, it's a brilliant long raid there that Saengkham would have needed. But how far the cue ball is going to travel, and it's going to be on the brown. So this time he does get a little bit of a lock, and he certainly needed to make that red disappear into the corner. Is there going to be a chance here for Napan to try and mount one of the best comebacks of all time when it comes down to the final against Mark Selby? There's not too many of them that he's lost. The last one being to Luca Brussel in 2023 World Championship. And still looking at a red and an opportunity of that red to be taken towards the left middle. Playing that cue ball with very little backspin. Just hold that one for the blue. Being wrong side of a blue, of course, doesn't really help, but he should be able to squeeze himself. And squeeze the cue ball, I should say, past the yellow and brown. And return it for that red to be taken into the right corner. Let's see if he's going to try and make it into the bunch straight away. He did. Well, he's clearly going to be in a mode of do or die here. And it didn't work out too well. Let's see if the black will go into the right corner. Because if it did, then it might not be that bad as I thought in the first place. And I think it will go, which makes his life a lot easier. But doesn't make it quite as easy as you might think about it. As Selby there only came back from the intermission already. Seeing that form from Saengkham, which got him into that place. But not for long. And unfortunately there, it's going to be the end of the pon. And sorry, late, looking good for Selby. Well, you know, it just seems like Kevin might be the alternative on the pond, because it doesn't seem like either one of them have turned up for the first 4 frames. And unfortunately there, that's going to be desperation. That's going to be looking to try and rush through a little bit. And if the previous couple of shots have worked out pretty well from the pond, then missing that red into that corner pocket was pure sign of frustration. And maybe not even focusing enough on that particular red. Trying to look too far forward, but whatever it was, it's now going to be Selby to try and pick out exactly where he left there in relation to coming back from the intermission. 4 dominant frames there. A couple of them where we've seen Saengkham to build an early lead, but in the end wasn't able to do anything with that lead, and Selby always coming back a lot stronger with those clearances. And look at that for a shot. He may be compromised by the black here though. I think he tried to take the black spot away from the black itself. But I'm not sure if that was actually the case, because of course the black then would have to go underneath the cue ball, which is not going to be necessarily in the plans of Mark Selby either. But if he's got a straight line in the red, he should be able to position himself nicely for the black to be taken to the right corner before he can do something about the red taken into the left part of the table. But it's clearly not straight, so he's going to have to try and play for the blue. But at this stage, doesn't seem like it's going to be a massive problem here for Selby. As he now finds himself, can't in Scotland or he's in Australia. If it's in Australia, not the same, 24 hours of playing. Now then, Selby about to put himself back down to level points again. Playing the yellow away and just taking that careful pace away from the cue ball. Making sure he's still got the window to get that cue ball away and onto the blue. Just making sure that he does take this position on a red by red basis. Upon robbed, blue moved. Kevin, what do you think? Have you seen that blue after all the discussions, and what do you think about it? Do you think it moved? Do you think it didn't move? And as you can see in the chat, 75% people think that blue is moved, and I'm still getting a little bit tired of that conversation, I have to say, to be honest with you, because I am absolutely against blaming 6 frame losing streak on one blue. That, as I said, nobody asked him to miss it for the second time. Missing it first time, whether he missed it or not, okay, it doesn't matter. He didn't change anything when it comes down to the scoreline. And he still didn't require Napan to be going for the black. But missing him on the second time certainly did. And that was purely down to his own mistake. Not like I didn't. There you go. So me, Letitia and Kevin, all very much going to be on the same boat. But yeah, I mean, I just don't really, I can understand you think, you know, it's moved, it didn't move, okay. But how can you blame that frame and that blue to be the reason to justify what's happened to Saengkham since. He's been nowhere near his best. His best frame ever since that point was the 8th frame, which was still in the first session. You know, when he had a really good comeback, blown it completely due to his own fault. When he had the clearance on, cannoned into the blue once, then he cannoned into the brown, compromised himself twice on 2 different chances, and yeah, he wasn't able to win the frame, but you know what? Only reason for that was because he still went for that very aggressive shot on the yellow. He left it to Selby, and I mean, how can nobody... I've just realised that. I'm just trying to think about what happened there. How can everybody talking about that blue, saying that that was the reason why he didn't win the frame, but ignoring the yellow that he went for into the right corner, whilst being nowhere near it, not having anywhere near enough of, you know, cue ball control over the white, and in the end not having any control over the yellow as well. I mean, that's just baffling to me. McConaughey thinks the blue didn't move. There you go. It was, on the first session, plenty of occasions for the pawn to try and reply and coming back exactly. You know, as I say, he hasn't won any of the frames where Selby was able to score any decent number of points. In fact, I'm going to check for precision. He won 2 frames of his 4 where Selby, yeah. So the maximum of the points where Selby scored was 8 when the pawn won the frame. So if he scores more than 8 points, Selby, he wins the frame. Is that good enough? I don't think so. And in every single one of those frames, apart from a 1-3-8 clearance in the 3rd frame and a 9th frame, where Selby started with a break of 58 points, the pawn always scored more than 27 points. So he's always scored 27 points and more in every single one of those frames, but 2. But, you know, the 4 frames that Selby's lost, he's only been able to score maximum of 8 points. So, and has been the only frames that he was lost. So every single time there is a chance for Selby, there's always a frame win for Selby as well. And as you can see, he's up to 25 points. So let's see if that theory is going to work out as well. Both players and the referee were in front of the camera. No pawn playing again and missed again. No matter what's happening in the first one, the second mistake was entirely his own. Absolutely correct. And absolutely exactly what I think about it. And even, as I say, if all of the things that you're saying were true, and I'm disagreeing with them, he still was not good enough to justify those type of shots there. Because this red is going to come away and... you know, I think he was pretty happy there that he didn't catch the front jaw, which I might actually, to be fair, he did play a good cue ball, so I might want to retract that one. But to be fair, I might want to retract it, but I don't think he'll change the momentum of the game, because I think still that same red that has gone way too low is going to be used by Selby now, who's thinking about going for the red into the right middle, but I think it's not really his type of shot to go for. And I think for Selby, you're just going to have to stick with what's working for you. And what has been working really well is just trying to get himself into those late chances and just making sure he's going to be in there when it happens. And that's exactly what has put him in this position. And whether he's going to think about the red into the right middle or the red into the green pocket, I think, you know, you're going to have to do something with that red on the left side cushion. And that's exactly what he's done. He clearly didn't see the angle to bring the cue ball back towards the black ball cushion, but he still played that one away pretty nicely towards the top part of the table. And he will be down to a chance for the red to be taken into the left part of the table as well. Because now there is a chance for the pawn to play the red away and into the right side rail. There is going to be pretty good cue ball control. He needed to make sure he doesn't really leave that same red available for Mark Selby, which he has done. I think there is going to be a little part of it available, but I'm not sure if Selby's going to be able to achieve anything with that part. And once again, ever since the 8th frame, we're seeing a lot lengthier, a lot more durable, and a lot more frames with featuring safeties in them. And that's, I think, exactly why Selby's been able to take that bouncing around where you take one frame, I take another frame away, and well, this red was close in the end. Let's see where the cue ball's going to finish, and he's going to finish just in behind the green, it would seem. So let's see if Napon is going to be able to try and swerve around the green, get himself to be potting the red, because I'll tell you what, if he can, it'll be the best opportunity that he's had in ages to try and win the frame. But clearly, turning his face away and not even looking at that red, which means he's going to have to go for a lot more difficult red into the left corner, because he can't leave that red available without actually trying to be on the break himself. So let's see. Could be a one-shot shootout here. Certainly if he misses it, he will be. And he has missed it. Way too straight. No chance of making that red in. Clearly, it doesn't seem like the body language is going to be responding with, you know, plenty of positive energy in there as well, which is understandable. But yet again, the chance was there to an extent, but he wasn't able to get anywhere near it. And of course, Selby should have one of the easiest plants that he'll take into the right part of the table and make sure he gets that cue ball to be lined up in behind the pink and into the right. I mean, that is the worst plant I've seen Mark Selby play. I said it's going to be the easiest one. I've got no clue how he missed it. And I'm going to see a replay of that one again and again and again. I'm never going to get tired of it. But, well, that was interesting. But, of course, that makes life of Napon a lot easier to try and get him a frame on the board. That was very interesting. But, of course, you know, we've seen plenty of twists and turns in the China Open so far. Could it be another one? But let's see the way that Napon tries to approach this one, because clearly he was very much done with that frame when he was walking away after the unsuccessful long shot. But, yeah, I mean, Selby clearly thought, you know what, kid, you deserve one more frame. And we'll see what you're going to be able to do with this one, because it's still not a guarantee. He's still finding himself behind for at least one more shot there before he takes the black away. But as I said, that's going to be by far the easiest position that he's had to face himself with for a long, long time. And let's see if he's going to be able to take this one away. And there's your answer. Seemingly very concerned about not seeing the red at all onto the right corner. And there you go. There's the confirmation. So only able to get himself 2 points ahead. Is he still going to try and make it in? Or is he going to be down to... Yeah, I think he's trying to swerve around it. Well, I think that the time of safety is gone. And that's going to be a little bit of desperation. But there is also, I think, of a bit of a masterpiece there. Because he clearly played that shot well enough for him to be content with it. Because now the red is still going to disappear. He felt like he couldn't see that red directly. Which was why he had to play a swerve around it. But that will certainly sharpen up the concentration. The question has to be asked, why it wasn't sharpened anyway, with him being 8-4 down. But still, just about makes his way around the pink there. So, certainly leaving a very little margin there for himself. But ultimately, yet again, finding himself to be 10 points clear. And of course, as I say, Selby has scored more than 8 points. So, could we finally see a frame to be won there from Napon, despite a significant break of a value to be scored from Mark Selby's point of view as well? As it's now going to be down to the blue, taken into the right middle. And still looking to try and take the red away towards the right corner. Play that shot with plenty of topspin. Get the cue ball lined up into the right corner. And get himself lined up for the black to be taken in towards the left part of the table instead. So now 17 points of a lead. As Napon is still looking to try. And a strong note here in this 13 frame. Looking to try and make those three lines, a line of 3 reds, all to be plotted into the left corner. If he does that, he shouldn't really have any issues with getting himself over the finish line, and therefore winning another frame and getting himself that little bit closer to Mark Selby. It will still be 3 frames in between them, but it'll be better than having 5 frames in between and allowing Selby to be just 1 frame away from the ultimate target. Saengkham here, just having a look at the reds and the way that he can approach them, being a little bit too straight on the black to power the cue ball through the right hand side here. May just have to play in behind of those reds and position the cue ball to be lined up on the lower one, but I think both of them will go past each other with no problems. So it should still be yet another frame there with a break of 46 points, which we haven't seen too many times there. Always a chance with Selby needing to, exactly, always the thing that I say, when you find yourself so many frames behind, there's always a chance, as long as your opponent needs more than 1 frame. When they're on that 9 number, I think they always just need one more opportunity. When it's 8, you feel like if you just keep on coming at them, you never know when they're going to be able to get to that 9 number of a frame, and We'll see what's going to happen. It's good for the morale to take a frame, exactly, and also it's good for, you know, a little bit of experience as well, because one thing you mustn't do is that you mustn't throw away the chances which come to you. Now then, this is the frame ball, and he was able to miss the front jaw on that aspect as well. So he's not quite got enough points to make a century here, which would be very nice, but I mean, I don't know how. I mean, to be fair, I did think that red was slightly further away from the right corner than what I've seen on the replay, as the pawn there still loses touch a little bit of the cue ball. But I think there's not going to be any point for Selby to be coming back here. He is now 48 points behind with 35 at the table, so there might be. But it's a really nice red there. I tell you what, cunning shot there from Napan Saengkham, and he was certainly able to make that one to go disappearing into towards the green pocket. And now one of these highest breaks could still be the highest break of the match as well. So far being at 80 points. Looking to try and make it down to a total clearance of 93. If he makes every single one of those shots to count for him. With a total clearance on the black, but a very quick frame there after the intermission. And as I said, it was always going to be down to his best chance of winning the frame being the one right after the break. And he came away with a really good long red. He was a little bit impatient, but as he had to work through his chances, he's now been able to make a break of 71 points, trying to double the brown. Nearly got that shot in as well, which certainly would have helped into the right corner through the ball cushion. But in the end, he is going to be pretty content with what he's done in the frame number 13. But of course, in hindsight, he's still got a long way to go to try and catch up to Mark Selby. It is now going to be Mark Selby 8, Napan Saengkham 5. And there is still 2 more frames that Selby's looking for. And there is still 5 more that Napan is going to try and need for him to achieve the result that he's going to be very much looking forward to. But it was a good frame for him, you have to say. And he's certainly not leaving this one to be all down to desperation just yet. He may do that later on, but as I say, I think just make sure Selby's not going to be able to get to the number 9 for the time being. And then when he does, it'll be a bit of a different story. As by the way, thank you very much for everyone tuning in. Feel free to hit the like on the stream, subscribe to the channel. We are going to be back with Wuhan Open, only with the last 16 stage, unfortunately, because someone being irresponsible. But, you know, that's the way it is. And, yeah, hopefully the top seeds are going to be able to make their way towards the 3rd round with a little bit more of a number when it comes down to their attendance down to the China Open. And yes, of course, we had to see plenty of very difficult matches through qualifiers. But at the end stage, the main draw was very tough for the top 16. And we've only seen 2 of the best players to come all the way to the quarterfinal. The rest of them were outside of the top 16 as well. With I'm not sure if that's actually the right information, because I'm pretty sure Zhang against Wakelin was still... No, that would have been the last 16, yeah, I agree. So the quarterfinal would have been Zhang against Bingham. And of course, Bingham managed to win that one with both players being outside of the top 16. So it just shows you how many upsets we've seen already throughout this week of China Open. Could we see another one, which would be by far the biggest of anything that we've seen in the last 14 months? You know, the comeback of Murphy against Mark Williams and the other way around was massive for Williams to win that match 10 frames to 3. But at the same time, something that was quite about as expected as this. I think it would be very difficult to find a match which was seeing a comeback as big as this. Maybe Weezy against Watchalong, where we haven't really known about that kid. Being 21 years of age, still being hot, aggressive, reckless, 4-0 down to the world number 1, and was unable to do anything with it as well. But, managed to come back, win 6-4, and win the whole tournament after defeating the likes of Barry Hawkins, Zington, and John Higgins in the final. Anyway, back to Napan Saengkham. He's still got plenty of work to do until he's going to be considered to be back in the action here for this final and trying to take it a little bit closer than what Karen Wilson was able to do against Watchalong, with 11-6 being the final scoreline. It is right now still looking at 10-5 to be the available scoreline as well. 8-5, well, certainly 8-5 is going to be the scoreline now. And Selby, it's going to be interesting to see the reaction of Selby out there. Is he going to try and make it a closed-off battle there? But he seems like he's about to go for a long red into the corner. We haven't seen too many of those missed, and we're not going to see another one here. who was saying that it does impact your vision after you become a little bit older than 40 years of age. It doesn't seem like that's going to bother Mark Selby too much, as he's now played really well for a shot on the black to be taken towards the right corner. And now just trying to push that cue ball through the black for at least one more red that he's got available to him, which I think he'll have one more to the right corner, which he's just had a look at and clearly given himself a thumbs up in his head. So then, as I say, we were looking for that reaction from Mark Selby and unable to get to that lucky number 9 for him. Let's see how that's going to work out here in this frame number 14, because it certainly seemed like he's about to go into a little bit of a berserk mode. Let's see if he's going to last in that one for much longer, because so far, you have to say, he's improved in every single part of his game in the second session, apart from maybe safeties. No, I think he's improving in safeties as well, because I think I was about to say because his safeties in the first part of the game were solid, but I think they became a lot better in the second session as well. So for now, 16 points of a lead. He's got a chance of playing that cue ball into the reds here, trying to get the red away and into the right corner. Let's see. The swing is in, the swing is out. No reds are going to be out of the main pack there, it would seem, apart from maybe the one into the right corner that he can play. But the fact that Selby didn't really have a look at that red would suggest that he's about to take two there, pardon the pun. And no, he won't take two, so he clearly realised that red was going to be available to him to be taken into the right corner. So now the question is he going to try and send the cue ball in towards the pink, the blue, or they're actually trying to do that from the black? There's your answer. He's got the angle to try and take that cue ball for the black there. He clearly feels as he got a little modelling of what's going to happen in the next 10 seconds or so. About to comfortably take the red away into that right corner, which proved to be so costly in the previous frame, and seemed like if that was going to be the moment to try and turn things around, that was going to be the point for that to happen. But this is the point to try and send the cue ball into those 11 reds, and he only needs one of them to make him happy, and he's got one, but I don't think he'll make him happy. Maybe he'll make a smile on his face, but I don't think he'll be a genuine one, because he's going to have to go for a shot into the green pocket, into the yellow pocket being another option. But, I mean, the shot into the green pocket is easier when it comes down to potting the red. I'm not even going to comment about trying to get on the black there. So that might be the reason why he feels like he has to play for the red. Has he got the red? He hasn't. Well, that was interesting. And that could be the point where we see a little bit of a different version there from the Saengkham. Selby clearly trying to be on the front foot. He played that shot with a very, sorry, I was meant to say with a lot of power, but in the end of it, it doesn't seem like it worked out too well. So for the first time in a long, long time, we're going to see Selby to do all the dirty work. And now, the Saengkham to try and score some big points out of it here. He's still got plenty of things to try and clean on his way. But you've got to say, apart from the previous frames, this is one of the best positions that he's also going to have in the recent history. And it's probably even going to be better than anything that he's managed in the previous frame. So now, about to take the black away. He just wanted that cue ball to get stuck towards those reds, and he's done that, which is absolutely fine, since he's got a red available to the right corner. Just needs to be very much wary of the history with that shot, because that was the one that cost him in the previous frame. But I think that was down to concentration, motivation, discipline, everything else as a combination there. For now, he would feel like he can still put up a decent fight here to Selby. And I might start to be believing that if he gets himself a 7th frame on the board. But for now, he's looking to try and search for the number 6, which would be very much the number that he will be approaching of the top 16 if he does overcome this incredible deficit of being 8-4 down, which is still a long way to go. But he certainly doesn't seem like that in this particular frame. All the reds are available to him, and when I say all of them, I genuinely mean that. He's got 9 reds, and neither one of them is going to be in a bad position. The only one which you could put in that equation is about to be taken as a red along the side cushion, but still plenty of rhythm and plenty of room in between the reds and the side cushion as well. So we'll see what's going to happen, but At the same time, there will be a chance for a careful shot on the red. And you can see there, he's a lot more lively than the pawn. So winning that previous frame clearly just put a little bit of belief in himself. So now he's a lot more focused. He's a lot more happy to readjust for the shot. And he's now, all of a sudden, surprise, surprise, he's making those shots to go in. Even though they're not going to be the most difficult ones. But you've got to start somewhere. And it wasn't his mistake that Selby, gone for that shot into the green pocket and played into the open space there, which was why I said that shot is going to be a lot more difficult to play for the black, because for you to play backspin shot, you were going to collide with the black. So the only way forward was literally the way forward with topspin. So we played that, Selby, but there were plenty of reds available in that top part of the table. And the red that Selby has missed is still going to be very much near, not over, but near the green pocket. But I don't think it's going to be the red which Saengkham will need until the very end of a frame here, because he should have enough points at the lower end of the table here for him to get himself more than enough points clear. Although I say that, not necessarily. He's about to be finding himself... Yeah, I think actually, yeah, he will. Because he's going to be level on points after the black. He's got 6 more reds. 6 more reds taken with blacks at 48 points, which is going to be more than 35. So he can afford to be choosing one of those reds to leave out. As long as he pots all the other ones, he should be clear of any danger when it comes down to this particular frame to be won by himself. And also, I think he's approached his break really well in the fact of he's not really taking those reds away from the middle, which would put him into a nice position of, if he does run himself a little bit wide on those sequences of 2 reds right next to each other, he can always go for a shot into the middle on one end of the table or the other, which I think is a small detail. But at this stage of a match, and at this stage of the tournament, it's a pretty important one as well. So he's now on the break of 33 points, still looking to try and get the pink away into the right middle, which just tells you sometimes all we need is one chance and one waste of an opportunity from Selby, and all of a sudden, the pawn is going to be smelling chances here for himself. And I think, well, we are going to see a bit of a different Selby though, if this is going to be the end for this particular frame, and Saengkham won't be able to allow Selby to get back to the table, because I think Selby was going for that long red really well, and he got himself an opportunity, but I think that's going to be very much down to the last purchase of that shop, and it's going to be very much shut down by Mark Selby. Saengkham there, underrun a little bit, so may going to have to take that extra red away from the left middle, which I said he was going to try and keep as a bit of a backup option. Best frame in this tournament is the pawn decided versus Watchalong by a mile. When it comes down to individual performance, that was the best decider performance that I've seen in a long, long time. So we'll see what's going to happen here then, because he's still got plenty more frames like that to try and play if he is to get the gap closer towards Mark Selby. And, he's only going to make this to be the 5th break of 50 plus if he gets the pink into the corner. Selby's got 6 of those to his count. And, of course, 5 of those all came in the second mini session. So, sorry, in the second session out there, which just shows you how dominant it's been in the first 4 frames. And, yeah, still looking at the red to be taken past the other. He just needs to try and get himself away to get on the black there, because he's still going to have one more red in towards the right corner to be taken there. He seems to have taken the red a little bit closer towards the pink, but in the end, not going to matter. He's still a little bit all over the place there when it comes down to his positional play there. But as I say, the benefit of this position is that you can afford to be doing that until probably about this point. And if he's on the wrong side of a blue, he should be able to play to the top part of the table, squeeze that cue ball towards the right side rail, and just drop the cue ball onto the left side rail after dropping the red into the green pocket respectively. But it's still not a shot that you want to play, because automatically it puts a little bit of pressure on the next shot for you to play. Because first of all, of course, you need to get the red in, and second of all, you need to make sure you're going to have a good position on your next color, which you didn't really get. I mean, he's straight on the green. You might have to take the brown away here to me. But he thinks that the green will be able to get the cue ball close enough towards the lower end of the table, which, who am I to argue? But is he going to try and take that one on the right side of the table? And the answer is neither, because he's going to try and take that one down the middle without using any of the cushions. Best frame, you've seen that one. So the red is going to be taken here into the right part of the table. So of course the next color, if it's not going to be the brown or less of a value, will be a frame ball. And it will be the blue, which will put him 36 points clear. And still a try and an attempt, I should say, of making a century break as the first one in the final. He's only made 11 of those, remember, last season, but he's on the wrong side of a blue. So, of course, forget about the century for now. Get the blue in and concentrate on bringing the red home as well. Because at this stage, it's only 1 point that Selby's lacking. And I'm pretty sure with the way that he's about to lose this frame, he's going to be very, very keen to try and battle, you know, very much his hands off of trying to make it all the way to the end before eventually having to concede to Saengkham, and he's missed that one by a long, long margin. He didn't need that cue ball to be anywhere near the pocket, and he got pretty lucky there, because I tell you what, to be dropping the cue ball, I think that could have been a free ball as well. That would have been the end of the Saengkham for now. What a massive difference one shot can make. And he's still all right because he's 36 points clear, but as I say, he could have done a lot easier of a job for himself and make his life a lot more difficult now, as Selby is going to drop that cue ball to be in behind the black. And I tell you what, well, better than anything that the pawn has managed to achieve in the 80 of the 11 of the 13 frames that he's played when it comes down to a snooker attempt. That is very difficult. I think I know which line is he going to try and take the cue ball from, but it doesn't really matter whether he gives away a free ball or not. I mean, he does a little bit, but he can only afford to be losing 1 point here, and he's missed it by a huge mile. Let's see where the cue ball's going to finish. Selby is now right back in the mix. Ouch, nasty safety. A horrible shot on the red there, which would be the point that I would start. Brilliant from... oh, you mean... I think he was trying to pot that red, Letitia. I think he was trying to pot that red into the corner. And yeah, he missed it by so much that it looked like it was a safety play. But now, all of a sudden, Selby's back in the mix. And he doesn't need the expensive colour with it either. I'm pretty sure the brown would do him nicely, because that would be 5 points. No, so he needs the blue, to be fair. So he still needs a blue or a more expensive colour. But I don't think he's going to be done there yet, Selby. I think he's going to try and get another snooker here. Somebody forgot to tell him that he only needed one, because the second one is going to be as much of a difficulty as the first one. It's a brilliant shot there from Mark. And tell you what, Saengkham is going to be really sorry to himself if he doesn't win the frame from here. But it does seem like his chances are not necessarily increasing with every single shot that he plays. You think Mark was... No. I mean, I'm talking about Saengkham. I'm talking about the red that he was taken into the right corner, which I thought was something that you said is a nasty safety. But it was a brilliant shot from Selby. Of course he wasn't playing the pot. Absolutely not. No, absolutely not. Not insane. He played two brilliant pots in that case, because he's now got another cue ball to be in behind the black. And yeah, finds himself to be in a very good position. I saw safety. Of course he saw safety, because you're a normal human being. And yeah, Saengkham is losing it a little bit. And I think there might be a free ball here. Unless he gets very fortunate, there will be a free ball. And I tell you what, chances of Selby to be winning this frame and the match have jumped to 99% for me right now. This is going to be the biggest of the hammer blows that you can possibly imagine. And just when it looked like it was going to be all over, now it is going to be a free ball, 7 points available to Selby. And ultimately, he's got about 8 more that he can score. So yeah, he's going to win this frame very comfortably indeed, if he does find himself to be lined up on the green, which he will. So 24 points down all of a sudden. Not you're going to do all these great wins to flop in. Great, get half the frames you need, geez. Yeah, unfortunately, listen, that red that he missed and the position that he ran himself out of was very much the point where he got away from him. And unless Selby is going to make it one of the biggest blunders that we've seen, it will be down to a break of 4 points and an opportunity to try and score. Don't play with Selby when he comes down to safety. Yeah, I mean, don't play around with him. And I did say that. Don't make your life difficult unless you need to. And there was no need to be running yourself on the edge of those shots on the blue when I said he was all over the place. He was able to recover at the top edge of the table. He wasn't able to recover on the last red. He missed that last red. If he gets the last red in, anything that he's done would still be justifiable, because I still think he would have enough points, and that's with 11 foul points that he conceded, and also with a free ball that Selby had. I think it'd still be far enough ahead, which just tells you how much of a blunder it was. But, you know, as I say, Selby's not going to care about that one too much. He's now going to find himself to be playing for a normal yellow here, and just carefully making his way towards the points here as well. So now 16 points being the difference, and he's got a really good opportunity of trying to make this shot to go in towards the pocket. Still one frame needed to win the match. Well, yeah, but he shouldn't really be to that stage just now, because Napon, as I say, if he's going to lose this frame, what sort of guarantee are you going to give that he's not going to lose all the other ones as well? Because he's had no right to lose this frame, and yet he did. And yeah, he's now going to find himself to be in a very difficult position when it comes down to trying to score those points here. As he now goes for the brown, hammers that one home, which doesn't need to be straight on the blue, which he will be. So it's not quite done just yet for him. And he's still getting lined up for the blue. So let's see what sort of position is he going to have on the pink. Surely not another twist on the pink. I mean, how many times have we seen in the last 12 months players to be struggling to get right side of a blue? And yeah, Selby's still going to have enough of a chance to try and take the pink away there, and he's probably the one that you would back to make the pink into the corner. But you also have to ask the question of why is he now needing to pass this a little bit of a test, as he's now finding himself to be lined up for the pink, trying to take that one into the left corner. 64 plays 68, plenty of backspin, because he's still going to need the black to be taken as well, and then we'll see. And how many points is he going to be able to score? And that's your answer. Certainly going to be able to score 70. Now the question is, can he just try and carefully drop the black in towards the right corner and make sure that he will be all down to 9 frames to 5 of a lead. And he will be the frame that Mark Selby had absolutely no right to win. But you have to say, Mark Selby was absolutely brilliant when it comes down to those safety shots. And in the end, a clearance of 34 points is going to be enough for him to take this frame away from Saengkham. A bit like taking a candy from a baby, that one, because Selby made it look very, very simple indeed. Ho, game gone. Exactly. 10 frame required to win a match. Well, true, but I mean, it doesn't really change the factor that Saengkham has just blown away a frame, given it to his opponent, and he's going to be absolutely done and dusted there mentally. If he brings another frame on himself, I'll be very surprised, genuinely, because that is a blow that you don't recover from. I mean, Selby was going to be the one struggling, and I guarantee you he would have been thinking about the line for him to do something in the next frame, but you could see at the same time, you know, when Saengkham was messing around with the cue ball being all over the plate, all over the plate and all over the table, you could see the concentration in Selby there, whether he was thinking about that frame or the next frame, but there was no sign of the 4th frame there, when he was putting his watch on, ready for the intermission, clearly having his mind somewhere else, because he knew that Saengkham was able to close out the frames at that point. He knew there may still be a chance, certainly in the match, but also in the frame, for him to come back. He played 2 shots. He got 11 points out of those 2 shots. No, he didn't get 11 points. He got 15 points out of those 2 shots. 15 points out of 2 shots. It shouldn't be possible. And he didn't score half of them, because he got 4 on the one foul. He got 7 on the other foul. He's got a free ball. And that's how 15 points were scored. Napon looks distraught. Come on, coming back is still possible. Well, absolutely spot on prediction. Fantastic commentary. Thank you. But, I mean, listen, unfortunately, as I say, I wanted this match to be closer, but it's only Saengkham. And once again, Selby haters, Napon Saengkham fans, is that still going to be down to the blue? Yeah? Is that still the reason why he's losing frames? Of course he will be. You have to take some sort of accountability, and I think he's going to be smart enough to take some, because I think he'll realise that he's been outplayed like a school kid out of the second session, and I think he's going to have to find himself to be playing better if he wants to try and beat someone like Mark Selby. But listen, it is, I think if you're being harsh to him, you have to say he played very poorly in the second session. I still think he's played well in the first session out there. Just wasn't able to sort of replicate that with the scoreline, but 4-all wasn't bad. It's just that, for now, having 5-1, he's not really going to be showing you the whole picture. Can't see Selby giving 5 away on bounce. Exactly. And that was not going to be... Oh, yeah, 5 on the bounce is going to be enough. So we'll see what's going to happen. But as I say, we're still waiting for Selby there. And he's probably laughing there. He's going for a bathroom break saying, I can't believe I won that. But on a serious note, of course, he's now going to try and calm himself down. Make sure he's going to pick one of the two plans. Is he going to still try and outscore Napan Saengkham, or is he going to try and make it a bit of a dogfight, which I think either one of those things will play nicely into the hands of him, because I think he's going to have the opportunity to come very quickly to him. I don't know if he knows his break-off shot, as it's been 3 hours since the match has restarted, but it feels like it's been 3 hours since Napan Saengkham was in control of that previous frame, and now a player that has been in control of this match ever since the start of the second session, and you could say probably since the frame number 7 as well. At the end of a point of it, certainly, because I still remember saying Selby might be in trouble there, nearly 2-5 down. Yep, he now finds himself 9-5 ahead. Never ride Selby, and if you want to do that, you do that at your own cost. Indeed, the probability is very thin. It is. But we'll see what's going to happen. Whether it's going to be down to an opportunity for the red to be taken into the left side cushion or not. But I think Saengkham can't really see enough of that. So is he going to try and play this red away? Well, not surprised, but you know, not going to be working out for him too well. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that if he gets a trip back to the table, because I thought he's covered all the options. But of course, he's got one more loose red that Selby will absolutely take on for free into the right middle. The reason why I say for free is that he's always going to try and drop it, which means there's no chance he's going to lose control of the red, and the cue ball is always going to be positioned for the left-hand side of the black there. So he could read the game for Selby, and well, one thing I didn't really read too well is that I said that the cue ball was going to be on the left-hand side of the table. It wasn't. That was the only thing that I got wrong, because Selby still managed to go for that red, put it nicely beyond the black, and the first of many opportunities to try and get himself yet another ranking title on the board. Tell you what, winning the UK Championship, winning the Champion of Champions, being in the final of the World Championship, winning China Open, he doesn't do small tournaments, does he? He's not going to do this one though for now, because he's going to miss the black, which wasn't the easiest shot, but he's going to make life of Napan Saengkham to be pretty difficult as well, because that was one of those shots where you make the black, you put yourself to be the king of the position. You don't make the black, you blow the flame wide open. But I still think you compromised the position bad enough there for Saengkham not to have full control of it when it comes down to colours, especially the black. In the 7th frame, the foul given off the blue at a crucial time, the referee misjudged the foul, and after that the momentum is changed. I think I've read that before, and I think I've answered that a million times. I'm just, as I say, just getting a little bit boring at this stage. The fact that someone farted in the audience, is that going to be another reason why he didn't win that frame? Yeah, one second. I just love the people when they put one frame to be impacting the whole match. So you're telling me him missing that red and misplacing half of his shots on the blue in the previous frame was also down to it as well? Okay. Very nice. Let's see what's going to happen here then, because whatever happens, you can always blame it on that blue. But seriously speaking, I'm thinking he needs the blue, the pink or the black to be coming back as soon as he possibly can in towards the black ball spot there, because I think at this stage, he'll be down to the cue ball to be sent all around the table. And, well, he's not really going to be positioned for the expensive colours there. The reason why I say he needs the pink is that it depends on if the pink spot is available, because if it is, then there is still going to be an opportunity for the black to be played into the pocket and then respotted onto its own position there, because something that he needs to do pretty soon, otherwise he's going to have to come running for those ball colours every single time there. Looking like number 26 tournament wins for Selby. Well, it was, but I think you have to take it individually for now. After he's missed that black, it seems like his chances have gone a little bit from something like 99 to 98%. But they may be dropping down to 90% if he loses his frame, which is still a long, long way from that. And Saengkham has got a lot of work to do, and his work hasn't really become any easier because I thought he might just try and play for the black right now. He decided not to be doing that. Selby can sense his opponent's pressure rate very well. I think I agree with that, yeah. And I think he knew at the point of him returning to the table at the previous frame where there was going to be a chance of him genuinely coming back stronger. And he's now going to have Saengkham to lead by 10 points to 1. I nearly said by 10 frames to 1. That would be quite a handy lead. But yeah, looking at... I mean, the problem that he's got with these three main colours is that the way for him to get the pink away from the blue, which is currently impacting the position of the blue massively, is to try and make the pink spot a lot more accessible for the cue ball to try and reach it. Because now he's sort of shooting himself in the foot on so many fronts there, because he's not scoring any points, because he's now got 4 reds I should say, and he's going to be 12 points clear. And he's also not really making any progress with those reds that are going to be impacting the pink. So I think what he needs to do is get rid of the pink completely, just try and put it in there and forget about it for a while, at least get the blue to be available for him, which will give him 2 points at least on average more than the bold colours would be. And I think that's about what is something that is about to be done here. Of course, you'll see more when it comes down to the situation with the position of the reds here. But, I mean, the question is, does the blue go into the right middle? Because if it does, I think you need to play a shot which would see the reds to go away from each other. And I think that's exactly what he's doing here. So let's see. He needs a good shot now, but he's capable of playing this type of a shot, and he played that really, really well. He got a good contact. And now let's see what's going to happen with the blue. How close is it going to be in relation to the pink? I don't think it's actually moved there too much. So I think the blue might still go to the middle. That's something that Saengkham is going to try and study right now. So still looking to go for a shot on towards the right corner, but he's got plenty of work to do. It's true to say that momentum changed for Nippon, but the 2-hour break and the new starting in the second session had to be the new start for all. It's a new, as the first session was never there, but both plays exactly like that. And let's see what's going to happen here then, because he's got enough reds to be away from the pink there for it to be probably discharged of having to be a carer for the blue. Push the blue towards the lower end of the table here again, and you might get the result that you want here. Although he's still looking to try and analyse what's going to be happening. I think he's got a really nice cushion to him with the red to be available over the corner pocket, but he clearly feels it's not going to be good enough for him to try and keep his chances to a maximum, which is what he's looking at right now. So then just playing the green, straightforward shot, making sure that he doesn't get the cue ball to get stuck to that red, which he hasn't done. Hit that one straight in the face, but plenty of distance in between the cue ball and the red to be taken to the right corner. So now there will be at least an opportunity here for Nippon to try and get himself one more frame on the board, and then you never know how far away can he try and take it from that point. 5-3 or 6-2 is much different. Oh yes, Axe. Did that bother him when he wasn't able to get on the yellow in the 8th frame? When he played the black? When nobody asked him to cannon into the brown? Did that bother him? Because if he did, he needs to be thinking about retiring from professional sport, because if you allow those things to get to you, you're not really going to be good enough for an amateur level. I'm not even talking about the final of the China Open. So yeah, I agree, 5-3 or 6-2 would be a massive difference, but it wouldn't be a big enough difference to overturn a 9-5. I think even you will agree with that. And I think that's the scoreline. And I think that's completely self-inflicted from Nippon. And you could potentially, if you really want to, take that frame away from Selby and put it to Nippon. But the bottom line is, it'd still be 8-6 behind. And that's for you to be taking a frame away from his opponent and to putting it to someone else. Which is something that he can do, but I don't think that puts a lot of credibility on Nippon's name either. And I think he's going to be the first one to admit that he didn't play well enough. Because I think if he had his performance of any of the other matches there, or at least half of it, you know, he'd be able to be right in the mix there with Selby and certainly be making sure that he's going to be a little bit closer to the finish line rather than having a 9-5 of a lead to try and overturn here. You know, as you can see, he's got 100 points less that he scored, But in the meantime, he's won 4 frames less as well, which means there have been plenty close frames that he wasn't able to win, and that one was another one. Yeah, but that frame went to the pawn, then it would be very different, and after it scored a 67 points, then lose the frame affect the player a lot, and also misjudgment of the referee also affected. It seemed like, once again, a lot of effect there, which you're not really meant to have. You're just meant to try and keep your head very much in the cool space, and I mean, once again, so what should we do? Should we cancel the match? Should we try and go for the break and make sure that Selby gets absolutely stripped of this title? He's going to come away with the media. Jason Ferguson is going to come away. No, this match is not going to be there. China Open is going to have to ban him for the rest of his life. This is a robbery, and Saengkham is going to have to be awarded the title. Is that what you want to do? The mistake has happened. If the mistake has happened, I'm still not sure that it was. But if the mistake has happened, okay, I'm happy enough to admit that it might have been a mistake. Okay, it happened. Move on. You can't change it. And I can understand in the heat of the moment, it might have cost him the 8th frame. It might have been in the back of his mind, which he should not have. But 2-hour break, seriously, if you can't get your thoughts together after that, I mean, there's nothing that is going to save you from that. But Saengkham seems like he's going on about the business quite well. After having that horrible sequence of 4 frames that he's lost at the start of this session, he's now managed to find himself in a decent sense of mind. And now looking to try and take the red away into the right corner. If you are into assumptions, 5-3, Selby came back into the second session and took 4 frames. He would be 5-7 exactly. As you can say, all you have to do if you want to make it 5-3, you have to take 1 frame away from Selby and give 1 frame away to the pawn. And that would still be 8-6 in the most generous circumstances, which is about to become 8-7. But still, Selby's in the lead. And I think his game would have changed a lot there if the scoreline would have been 5-3 down to the pawn after the first session. So if, as Rafa Nadal once said, it doesn't exist. You have to just go with what you've got. And something that Napon has actually been quite decent at before missing out on the ping. Still, no matter how close he gets to a century, he can't make one, but it's a good break there of 61 points, which will keep Mark Selby in his seat. And it's now going to be Napon Saengkham to win this 6th frame here, as it's Mark Selby 9, and it is Napon Saengkham 6. Yeah, now Selby can recover from any situations. Go for it, move, take 4 frames in a row. Come on, you need to dig deep and find that fighting spirit. Fight hard, you can do it. Rooting for you. Thank you, Letitia, once again. So we'll see, as I say, it's still mission possible, but I think at this stage it's certainly going to be mission difficult at the same time, because Napon can't afford to be losing anything right now, and he needs to make sure he's going to be winning everything from this point onwards as well. So 4 frames that he needs to win. Still, the odds, that doesn't seem like they've changed for a while, at 15.0 for him to be the frame winner and for him to be the winner of the match. And I would expect Selby to win the 16th frame. I'm just going to put it out there. I said after the end of the first session that Selby will win this match 10-6, and I'm going to stick to it now. I do think there will be just 1 break, which he will take for Mark. He had a really good chance made for himself, but he wasn't quite able to get the black in the previous frame. I don't think he'll make that mistake again, and I think we can expect maybe a little bit of a lengthier frame, but I would expect Selby to be lifting the title at the end of it. Come on, 10-7, has a chance, coin flip, exactly, Anthony, now. It is, for me, it is exactly 10-6 or 10-7, so we'll see what's going to happen. But you clearly got a little bit more of an interest in that one than me, which is fair enough. As I say, let's see what's going to happen here, because we are seeing some great entertainment there quite lately, and what you really like to see in the final, and something that you have to give credit to Judd and Trump for. Judd and Trump for. That's 2 different people, if you didn't know. To Kyron and Judd for in the Shanghai, is that both of them were able to make a really good game out of it, like a really good show for the fans, and a spectacle which was very enjoyable to be watching, and at the same time, it was very much one of those where it allowed you to be enjoying it. Selby wins this frame, and it's what I said, 10 frames to 6. Yeah, as I said, Sire, we agreed on you with that one, that it was going to be 10 frames to 6. So we'll see what's going to happen here. I still think Selby will absolutely win this frame, but after a couple of decent performances there from the pawn, he does now find himself still to be, not in charge, but of course still to be out there competing, needing to win 4 more frames in a row, which is possible for him, as of course is now, you can see, he's managed to pop more balls than Selby by 12, which shows you that it's been a lot of frames which were very close to each other, but every single time they were close, Saengkham seemed to always lose them. The previous one wasn't too close, but of course, you know, he did win the frame where Selby scored 25 points. I think he did. Or was that the one where he bottled 3 snookers? Let's have a look. No, he did. He did win that frame where he had a break of 71 points. The one that he bottled 2 snookers was when he had 68 points on the board. I mean, imagine losing with 68 points on the break. Incredible stuff out there. But you have to give the hat off to Selby. He will be Saengkham there to break off. Could well be his last break-off shot of the match. In fact, I'll be stunned if it's not, because of course that would mean that Mark Selby would have lost 4 frames in a row, as he's now 3 frames in a row, I apologise. He will be the previous one, this one, and the next one as well, which will be on the break of Mark Selby, which realistically is not going to happen, but let's see which approach Selby decides to take, as he's now always going to be that last and final frame for you to try and get on the line, which sometimes just seems like it's a little bit of a tough mission for you to try and achieve. So we'll see what's going to happen. For now, it is going to be, well, the red will go to the corner, but I see absolutely no value to be taking that red if you're jouting Ton, which means that Mark Selby's not even going to be thinking about it. But the last time I said that, he's gone for a red like this and, you know, got quite close to making it as well. Yeah, but I would expect a safety shot in relation to the main bunch of the reds, which is exactly what he's going to try and achieve here. Playing a shot from the cushion, a very careful bounce of the white, just needs to miss that red next to the black, and then he's going to be nicely lined up for a good safety displayed. And unless there is any chance of that red going to the left middle, he's going to be safe of any danger. Although Saengkham is having a good look at it, and from this angle it does actually suggest that he might go into the middle. I mean, the pink is available, so could it be that Saengkham does actually go for this red? Because, you know, in contrast, there's not really a lot for him to do. And he's not going to be able to get himself any comfort zone with staying quiet and staying in the dark. So let's see. I mean, if he just gets the cue ball out wide, he may be able to push the position for the pink. Let's see if he got the red in, though. He got the red in, and he might have just seen enough of the pink here as well. So, after a decent enough safety shot from Selby, it seemed like he got a little bit too much pace, but also got a little bit unfortunate with how one of the reds gone slightly away from the pack. He was still a part of the pack, but the cue ball ultimately could see enough of that red to be taken in towards the left middle. I think the pawn will come back at this point. Well, not really. I think you're still talking about a long shot, but he may be able to come back in this particular frame. I will give you that. And make Anthony a very happy man indeed for a 10-7 to be on the line. But I did say I expect Selby to win this frame, and as stubborn as I am going to try and stick to that. Fair for the pawn. Selby should have the attack the red. He's leading. Nah, you can't actually ask Selby to attack that red. Come on. I mean, what was he playing for? I mean, forget about having the cube on the cushion. What was he playing for? He had no chance of seeing the black or the pink. So I think Selby done everybody a favour there by freeing up the pink, which I think was the only reason why that shot had taken place there. Because if that red in itself is available, I still don't think the pawn goes for it, because there's nothing that he can get out of that red without the pink. So now he got himself 13 points of a lead, and he's going to try and get himself quite far away. He's done it 2 frames before, and he was amazing. The same one. Yeah, but that time he had the blacks to play for. I'm not going to take it that he was playing for the ball colours, because it's way too much Q action for you to work with. Who do you think will be the next number 1? I think the current number 1. And I did say, I do expect a mistake from Saengkham at this frame, and he did come there. Unfortunately, enough is enough. And it seems like he's had a little bit of too much to deal with there. It's a simple rest shot on the red. And in the end, Selby, by playing the patience game, it was always going to work for him. Could never see the opportunity of Saengkham just, you know, being way too clinical for every single one of the frames. And, yeah, still going to get 2 shots away here, Selby, because he's going to have a red and a colour after it straight away. Split to the pack has been the only thing which I think needs improvement on the overall basis, which if you are going to be critical of one of the things from Selby, I think splitting the pack has been one of them. But in the previous frame, he split the pack about as well as he could have. He just missed the black, And that was the reason for me why he didn't finish the match with 10 frames to 5. Now then, we had 11 frames to 6 to be the final score between Wilson and Trump. Can we see one which is going to be between Saengkham and Mark Selby? I tell you what, I don't know how he played that shot with so much power, but he got the perfect result with it. The black has disappeared. Let's see if he wobbled. No, he didn't. It was just a blitz for the black to be disappearing. And the cue ball is now lined up for the red to be taken into the left middle. And he's got the perfect situation of the reds, pretty much perfect situation of the colours. And Mark Selby right now with the best possible chance of trying to get himself over the finish line. I reckon it will be Neil. Well, if it will be Neil, it won't be for long. I just don't think he's playing good enough to try and be the world number one. And of course, you know, with the likes of Weeze and Zhao still not having any points to defend till the end of the season for Xington, because he sort of started to play at the World Championship of 2 seasons ago. So I think he's going to be very shy on ranking points. And Weeze, of course, didn't really have that World Championship campaign that Zhao had in 25. So he's going to be even more clear, I should say, of having any ranking points to defend. So I think we would expect to see either Zhao Xington or Weeze to be the world number one by the end of the season. It's just that which one of them will be able to. Weeze will fall off, I think. I could see that happen. He's a bit of a strange one, because you never know what to expect with him. He plays one good match with a really good performance, and then next time you could just see to be eliminated completely. But he has won the World Championship campaign, so I think you should give him a little bit of credit for that. There's well, once again, you can see that shot from the pond there, but missing out on the red. And Selby, you could see there, about as calm as if he was looking at the breakfast menu. Just seemed like he knew that was going to happen at some point, and very patient to come back to the table. 22 points later, 22 points closer towards winning this match as well. I watched him at the Welsh semis, and he's not consistent. Yes. Oh my God, don't remind me against that match against John. The horrible, probably the worst match that I've seen last season. I know Daniel Wells against Mark Williams was horrible, but that, it was a pain. It was genuine pain. 5 hours for something like 9 frames. I was happy that I didn't have to throw up after that one. But yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I'm saying. He had 4-1 of a deficit against Jeonjo. Trust me, I remember that match, unfortunately. And he was able to come back somehow, despite playing horribly wrong. And then he sort of disappeared in the match against Hawkins. So, he's a bit of a weird character, he is, because that wasn't the only time he's done it. As Selby there having to go for a bit of a read shot on the red. And well, something that I didn't have on my bingo card was Selby to be missing out on an opportunity like that. So Saengkham, I thought he might have played his last shot of the match. He hasn't. So let's see how many more of those he's got to play. Could we see a little bit of a drop-off from performance from Selby there? I think it's too early to say. But the plan that he missed a couple of frames ago, the opportunity that he left to Saengkham to try and steal that frame away from him, which he didn't take. You could see, if you see a 9-7, you might start to think about it, you know. But of course, Saengkham still finding himself a long way away. I went for a 10-minute walk when Jeonjo started a break, and he came back and he was on 37. Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. Oh my, don't even remind me that. Don't even, genuinely makes me feel sick. I felt like Peter. I remember watching on stream as well, and I was saying, like, is he doing that on purpose? And is there going to be like a sort of shot clock implemented? Because he can't be taking that to a whole new level. Because he genuinely was taking like 2 minutes on an ordinary shot there, which he felt like he was making Peter Ebdon to look like he was Ronnie O'Sullivan there. And Barry Hawkins, he was 4-1 down, played excellent, and made it 4-all, and then lost again. I'll be honest with you, I don't really remember about Barry, but I remember that Barry played quite well in that particular match and in that particular tournament. You know, it shouldn't be forgotten that Barry's actually the ranking event winner last season. As Saengkham there goes for a split of the Reds, and I'm not sure if he got the result that he wanted there. He may have been looking for an A+. I think he got a B- on that one, because he might be looking at the red to be taken in towards the left middle. It's not the shot which would make you be comfortable about the positioning of the cue ball. So we'll see what's going to happen. Yeah, like every shot he gets back up like 3. Yeah, I remember that. I think Xington will be number 1 since he won't be losing points. Yeah, but the thing about that, Alan, is that Weezer won't be losing any ranking points either. So whether that's with you understanding that and still thinking that Xington will be clear because he's got 100,000 more and he's a better player in my view, as Saengkham there misses out on that raid, but ultimately loses on the cue ball completely. So, you know, it's going to be 5 points of the advantage, but ultimately he wasn't able to punish Selby for that mistake, where Selby wasn't able to punish for his own mistake out there. So, way too many mistakes, basically, is the breakdown of the 16 frame. But when I say too many, there's one for Selby and there's two for the pawn. And now, it's a safety battle which is about to begin. 5 colours still in open play, if you consider the pink to be available, which I think you should. Now, let's see what Selby is going to be thinking about this one, because if he wants to try and go for the ready to the left corner whilst playing the cue ball to the top edge of the table, then I would be pretty surprised with that, because then it would sort of blow my theory away there. Ever since the intermission, Selby was happy enough to me with that 8-4 of a gap, as I think he is playing this red into the corner. Close, but not close enough. Yeah, he seems to have switched the game momentum again, and he's gone from being over-defensive to a very attacking player there, which is incredible. Mark used his experience to and seasoned savvy to shut down upon Saengkham at every turn. He was incredibly tough and astute. Kitana, thank you very much, Letitia, once again. So we'll see on who's going to be able to shut down who here, because it could still prove to be the last frame of the match. The number 16, lucky number 6 for the pawn, lucky number brown there, as the cue ball seems to be running all the way there. And I think, unless there is going to be a red on the left-hand side of the table, I think it's a really good shot there from the pawn, which will find Selby to be a little bit uncomfortable now. When I say a little bit, could easily be a lot uncomfortable if he doesn't find himself to be, you know, seeing any one of those reds at the left part of the table. But seems like that for now, as we're still looking of playing that shot away and into the right corner. Well, he could find himself to be in a position where he just carefully plays that right red away from the right corner. And, you know, alternatively, of course, if he could just try and dump the cue ball onto that red, but that way he has to be a lot more precise, rather than trying to play that shot with a lot more pace. So let's see, just interesting whether he's going to go for the first or the second option. He's gone for the second option, which is more power and more accuracy at the end. He was close to be catching the ping, but he played that shot about as well. Being very smart with the angle there. I think he realised that he needed to hit that one pretty much with a straight line, and he probably hit it in the way where he was never going to hit the red too much on the face. And if he was going to hit the ping, you say unlucky. You're probably going to have a missed call on you and try and do the same shot again, but with a minor adjustment, or even with no adjustment at all. Just try and play it in exactly the same spot there and just hope for a different outcome. Meanwhile, Saengkham, of course, because of that, gets himself an extra shot to play, but I'm not sure if he was able to utilize this shot as well as he's done on the previous occasion, because I think Selby now, he's going to have a chance of playing this red from the black wall cushion away and into the right side, and therefore just bouncing the cue ball away. Who do you think is going to win the Wuhan? Oh, I didn't actually say who's going to be my pick for the season dark horse. Who's it going to be? Has to be someone good though. I can't go. I don't want to go for him though. I will say Trump. I'm going to go boring, because I genuinely fancy Trump to be on a good run. So I'm going to go for Trump. I know he's the world number 1. Let's see for how long, but I do expect him to go on a really good run. And if I was to go for the second one, I would go for even more boring. I will say Zhao Xington. So I'm certainly very much of a genius predictor there, if you want to call it. But if I was to go for someone a little bit more niche, I would say Watchalong. I think the guy has got potential. He seems to be lacking the final piece of the puzzle, but I think he is showing some great results there, and he will come alive. And I would expect him to win a ranking tournament by the end of the season, and I'd be very surprised if he didn't. And who do you think? A lot of questions, guys. Come on, let's do it one at a time. Who do you think will win the Wuhan? But by the way, I'm not complaining. Keep them coming. Absolutely lovely stuff there in the chat. Thank you very much for everyone joining in. Who do you think will win the Wuhan? Well, Zhao Xington. Simple. Like that. Yeah, I do actually think Zhao Xington. I think he's due for a good performance. I think he was ordinary in the World Championship. I think he was ordinary in the Shanghai. I think he was crap in this tournament of China Open. I think he's due a performance, and I think he'll be able to find one in Wuhan Open. So I would say Zhao Xington. I think, no, who do you think win the 2027 World Championship? Oh, that's a horrible question. Right now, God knows. Not O'Sullivan, not Weezer. Is that good enough? I don't think, maybe, no, I don't think Selby. Higgins, no. Williams, no. I'm just going to eliminate all of them. So I'm going to come away with someone like, I don't know, Stan Moody. Xington, maybe. Well, Xington is a good shout again, but he's a good shout for everything. He just doesn't seem to be winning anything right now. But he's a good shout for everything because he's not going to have the Crucible curse on him. Yeah, I'm actually going to go for Zhao Xington for both Wuhan and for both World Championship in 2027 as well, which is strange, but I genuinely believe that as well. I predicted Wu at the start. I'll go for Zhang Anda. I don't know why. To win the Wuhan? Nah, I don't think so. I don't think I've seen anything great from Zhang at all. I think he had 2 mid performances against Wakeland and Zhao, but no, not really for me. Stan, that would be amazing. Yeah, no. I think Sean will win a lot of invitational events, and to be fair, I think he'll struggle under the pressure of staying number 1. Nah, I don't think he's going to care about the world number 1. I don't think he'll care about it. I think he's been there for too long. And I think the fact that he's managed to win Shanghai without any pressure, I think he's not stupid there, Trump. I think he's quite an intelligent player. And let's talk about intelligence. That was brilliant there from Selby. And that could well be finally the shot which takes him over that finish line. He was approaching the fast corner and he's managed to take it to the next gear, rev up the engine, and he's now perfectly lined up for the next upshift on the black to be taken into the left corner as well. So then finding himself 3 points clear, plenty of reds available. In fact, all of them but the 1, which will be more than enough here for Selby to make it past the match ball. And yet again, Saengkham was the player that had 2 chances. There's a second chance for Selby to try and win this frame. The Pond has his own 2. He wasn't able to take them past 27 points in total. As in World Championship, I got Wu right last season. Okay, fair enough. I predicted Wu at the start. Oh, I thought you meant you predicted Wu for this one. Okay, fair enough. I tell you what, I certainly would not have fancied Weezer to win the World Championship. I don't actually know who I said. I think I said Zhao Xington will break the Crucible curse. But I think I was a little bit naive because I sort of went with how he was destroying everyone at the Tour Championship. But forgetting the basic rule, you can pick too soon. And you very rarely see someone to be winning everything coming to the World Championship and winning that tournament as well. It seemed like it's always a little bit in the middle, apart from Trump potentially in that 2019 season. Most matches are won with your opponent's errors, so anyone can win over anyone, no clear favourite. That's very philosophical, but it doesn't really tell us your predictions. You can't sit on the fence. Get over it and tell us who you think will win Wuhan and who you think will win the, the World Championship as well. Because there's going to be more prize money, which means more motivation for some of the old dogs. You know, Higgins, Williams may not be lacking too much motivation, but someone like Ronnie will be rubbing his hands together. You know, if he was saying that he means a lot to him to win Crucible last year, then with 25% prize money increase for the winner, you feel like it'd certainly be down to that as well. But I think we all know the winner of the China Open here, especially if Selby's now going to be able to take this red away. Let's just stay with him for a while and let's just see Master at the action as he carefully takes that red away to the right corner, holds the cue ball back for the black. Make sure he's now going to have himself with 15 points of a lead. Playing for the black, doesn't really want to be straight on that one. Just wants to find a little bit of the angle. Well, doesn't really want a little bit of the angle either, because he's got the reds to be in a straight line, all positioned in the way of each other. So look at that flick of the reds, and he's now able to position himself, not for the easiest reds, but at least for the one that he can take towards the right corner. And Mark Cullen will want world's most this year. Well, yeah, but he needs to start playing for the first time. But, you know, I'm not going to comment on that a lot more. But as I say, he's missed 3 tournaments. So, and I think, by the way, Mark Cullen is nowhere near winning the World Championship. I think that was, listen, it's harsh, and I'm not his biggest fan, but I'm not his biggest hater at all. I think it was very harsh on him what's happened, but I think that was his best chance. You have to say that was his best chance because of inexperience. Because he's been there before. He came across against Weezer. He had the lead. he didn't really see Weezer to be playing his best snooker in the final session. He let him off way too many chances, and that black was just, the worst of them that he let him off. The black for Mark last year, I was mortified for him. I wasn't, but I knew it was going to be harsh, and I knew it was always going to damage him. But it seemed like he came away with a very smart face on, because, he did say if you miss a black like that, you can't win the World Championship, which is the right way to look at it. Whether it was actually something that he felt, maybe something else. But yeah, we'll see. But as I say, we're not going to see him at Wuhan Open, so that's going to be one player out of the top 16, which is not going to make it through to the second round. But Mark Selby might, if he doesn't decide to withdraw, which I think he's got plenty of reasons not to, because I think he's not going to have too many ranking points to defend at Wuhan Open, but at the same time, he's going to have 6 days worth of rest and parting potentially, as he's now one shot away from making it frame and the match. It has been a break of 42 points, and he's now going to be down to a red, which will take him 38 points clear, whilst having 35 at the table. I think the pawn will fight back, unless Mark is going to be able to get the colour and the red away. But I think, I did say 10-6, and I did say before the start of this frame, I do expect Selby to just end that suffering for Saengkham and make sure that he's now going to be the 4-time China Open champion. Oh my god, is that GG? Selby on a mad win streak. It's all over. Damn, well it does seem to be. Trump for Wuhan and World. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. Interesting tactics there. Predicting Trump to win the World Championship in 2026. Not sure something that I would be going for, but I suppose. I'll be happy for Judd, very regular and enjoyable player and struggling to achieve goals. Match done, thanks for covering great. Selby on March, he is certainly on March, and we're only down to August. You can only imagine what's going to happen in September, but he certainly seems to be playing super well. And now the red, you can see the fist bump, you can see what it means to the guy. He's a legend of the sport, and he deserves this win massively. After such a quiet run last season, it is the first semi-final of 2026, and it is going to be the first win of 2026 as well. And what a win that is, by the way. Brilliant against an opponent that was the heavyweight killer. He came into the light division, he was able to outplay him, and he's now going to be able to put all doubters to bed. It is Mark Selby, 4-time world champion, 4-time China Open winner. I think Murphy, Xington or Selby might win the world championship. Well, you're giving yourself a lot of options, but I think Murphy's got no chance. Selby, maybe. Xington is my favourite to do that. I think Murphy had his own opportunity last year. I think you don't really reach 2 finals of the Crucible at the same year. In 2 years, I should say. There will be a handshake, and there will be plenty of good words there to be said from the Saengkham, but also to Mark Selby. He deserves to be the winner. He was the better player, and ultimately, you are going to have to say Mark Selby was the best player of the tournament. He certainly has to be in the team of the week, and for now, he may even be in the player of the month, because I think his performance at the China Open was better than anything that we've seen from Kyron or Trump in the Shanghai Masters, which means he is now going to be the 2026 China Open champion, and that does sound pretty good for him as well. Congrats to Nippon for the entire tournament. Yeah, absolutely. You have to say, brilliant for him, because you are going to be down to him to be looking at a really good opportunity to make it all the way to the semis. He seemed like he was going to struggle against Joey Long. Listen, he was able to come away with a really good result in that match. Final may have been a little bit too much for him to ask because of how difficult the draw was. He may be back later this season with a better performance than this, but for now, well, I think you have to go with the Christian Horner's race in that one. You can be proud of everything you've done, because the fans certainly are, and that's exactly the situation that he's going to find himself at. Of course he'll be disappointed. He didn't manage to replicate that brilliant run of Chipchaya, and he didn't manage to take it one step further than what he's done at the Scottish Open. The last black given up to Mark Selby gives him a great boost from there. He's up all the way. Had potted it, maybe the outcome would be different. Another part of the blue did move. Well, listen, you can discuss that later on, but I think you have to acknowledge Saengkham and Selby both played a really good tournament, but in the end, Selby was better in the final, and that's why he is going to be 2026 China Open champion. And the damage to me was done at the start of the second session. It's obvious, but you have to say, losing 4 frames in a row, combining that with the previous 2 frames, losing 6 frames in a row to Selby, is always going to be very difficult to recover from that. And in the end, he did, to a certain extent. He was able to win a couple of good frames. He was able to make the match out of it at certain aspects, but, you know, unable to get to that number 7. But still, we got Karen Wilson to be losing to Watchalong by 11 frames to 6. We've got Saengkham to be losing to Mark Selby by 6 frames to 10 as well. So we'll see what's going to happen later on. And thank you very much for everyone watching, everyone joining into all the streams from the matching between Saengkham and Watchalong, which was the first match of the tournament. So now, Yao Pencheng against Weezer was the first match. I tried to finish on a high, but failed. And of course, the final one was in between Mark Selby and Saengkham. Brilliant action in between all the players. Thank you very much for all watching, and be back on Wednesday at Wuhan Open on around 25 or 26th of August. We'll be there for you, as we're going to get 3 weeks of snooker, as we're going to have the Wuhan Open, the British Open, and the English Open, to see the 3 best players in some of the best tournaments of the World Snooker Tour, as we now approach September, and we're approaching even more snooker to play. For now, it is all English party, with Watchalong and Mark Selby to be the winners of the first 2 titles. Many thanks to you. Thank you very much, Natisha. Thank you, Kevin, especially to the moderators. Thank you for everyone that has been watching. Stay tuned in for more action, as we're about to hit the ground running with 3 successive events to be coming one after another. Once again, stay tuned in. Thanks for watching once again.
Walking alone, the streets are empty. The only thing I can see is my own silhouette. I'm getting stronger, step by step. The clock is ticking, but there's no time for regrets. I've been flying from town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe, trying to protect your soul. We are heroes tonight. We will fly above the sky. We are heroes tonight. Yeah. We are heroes tonight. town to town, from London to Taiwan. I've been all around the globe trying to protect